Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Town of Cedar Lake Utility Board public meeting for October 15th, 2024. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Meeting called to order at 6:44 p.m. Roll call, please.
Robert Carnahan?
Here.
Julie Rivera is absent. Chuck Becker?
Here.
Greg Parker?
Here.
Mary Joan Dixon? Here. Richard Field?
Here.
Nick Recupito?
Here.
I am present. Jeff Fungi?
Present.
David Austin?
Present. Thank you, ma'am. First item of new business is approval of the minutes from September 17th, 2024. We have a motion to accept and waive the reading of the minutes.
I'll make that.
Okay.
I'll second it.
A motion by Mr. Parker, seconded by Ms. Dixon, to accept and waive the reading of the minutes. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
Chuck Becker?
Yes.
Greg Parker?
Yes.
Mary Joan Dixon?
Yes.
Richard Field?
Yes.
Nick Recupito?
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Number 2, East Pay Request Number 9 for East Side Water Utility Elevated Storage Tank payable to Caldwell Tanks Incorporated in the amount of $43,575.16. Good evening, Neil.
Good evening. This is a routine pay request number 9 for the elevated tower, $43,575.16. Everything's in order, partial waiver. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
I have one. I see that this is an amount of, wait here on this page, at the retainage, it says $188,091.94, and then on another one we're going to look at, it says 93 cents instead of the 94 cents.
Yeah, the retainage is a percentage of the amount billed, and those numbers go out to several significant digits past the decimal point. So some are rounded up and some are rounded down, but upon review of 9 and 10, everything is in order in terms of the amount that's requested and then what has been paid. And then also additionally, what SRF pays through the Indiana Finance Authority, they round to the nearest dollar. So everything is in order, but what you will see is that there's a penny here, a penny there, because some of those numbers go out 4 digits past the decimal point.
Yeah, well, it just, that was only a penny difference.
Yes, understood. And that happens with retainage, because retainage is 10% of the project cost through the entirety of the project until release of retainage.
Okay, well, that confused me.
Me too.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. If there's no other discussion, do we have a motion to approve this pay request?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion made by Mr. Becker, seconded by Mr. Teal to approve East Pay Request Number 9 for East Side Water Utility Elevated Storage Tank payable to Caldwell Tanks Incorporated in the amount of $43,575.16. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
Chuck Becker?
Yes.
Greg Parker?
Yes.
Mary Joan Dixon?
Yes.
Richard Field?
Yes.
Nick Recupito?
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Number 3, change order 2 for East Side Water Utility Elevated Storage Tank from $1,890,919.35 to $1,880,919.35. Reduction in $10,000. Neil?
This is a reduction in the bid specifications. We had an allowance of $10,000 for potential usage that may be needed during the project that was unneeded. So the reduction is in the amount of $10,000, 0 cents.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions for Neil or discussion? If not, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion made by Mr. Carnahan, seconded by Mr. Becker to approve change order 2 for East Side Water Utility Elevated Storage Tank. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
Chuck Becker?
Yes.
Greg Parker?
Yes.
Mary Jo Dixon?
Yes.
Richard Seal?
Yes.
Nick Cuputo?
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Number 4, NEAS pay request number 10, final for East Side Water Utility elevated storage tank payable to Caldwell Tanks Incorporated in the amount of $188,091.93.
Any different?
Yeah, Neil?
Yes, this is, as Bob had mentioned earlier, this is the final pay request. It should be noted, we do have a punch list that we've reviewed with staff and Tim and the water department, and that work is being completed. Additionally, we have a performance bond that upon completion of the project will exist for 1 year through the guarantee period, and that performance bond is in the amount of the entirety of the contract, which the original amount was $1,863,000 and change, I believe. And so those items will be completed. Some were completed today and over the past couple weeks, and we've received reports on the grouting and then the minor paint repairs that need to be done from the subcontractor, Dixon Engineering, who is a tank coating specialist. So those items are proceeding, and one of the reasons that moving forward on the final pay request is direction from the SRF in terms of the financing from the Indiana Finance Authority regarding the time frame of the outstanding loan amount and looking to reduce the ability for them to back charge the town, which would be a non-recouping 1% fee. Any questions?
Just some comments. I'm going to, the total cost of this was $1,880,919.35, which we had already paid $1,692,827.41, leaving that with the balance of the $188,091.93, and is that our final payment?
That is the final payment for this project. You are correct.
All right.
I got a question, the performance bond. Does it take effect as soon as we approve this?
Once the project is completed and approved, following the punch list items, that's when the 1-year guarantee period begins and the extension of the performance bond in the entirety of the contract amount, not just the items that are left to be completed.
Because I didn't know how long it's gonna be before it gets online. I don't wanna approve it and then performance bonds already taken before it gets online, so.
Yeah, and that's a fair question. The sooner the contractor completes all of the punch list items, the sooner that the substantial and contract completion is terminated, and then the guarantee period and the performance bond begins.
I'm gonna go with what you just said there, Chuck, and go to Tim. When we get the Robin's Nest well upgraded, then we will be able to fill the water tank, correct?
Correct.
Is that gonna be this year?
Yeah, the actual pumps shipped today, so they're en route to here, so. How long that's gonna take, I know that they were in the United States, and they're on their way here. I did ask if they were in, like, you know, Germany or somewhere, but they are en route to here, so. Should be here, I would imagine, end of the week, before the end of the week. We'll begin scheduling to get that in, and should be relatively, I mean, I think we have all our ducks in a row except for getting the permit and a couple little things, but Ryan and Brandon have everybody lined up to get it installed and get it, you know, underway, so just waiting on the pieces.
Very good.
Which are en route.
All right, thank you all. Do we have a motion on NEAS pay request number 10?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion by Mr. Carnahan, seconded by Ms. Dixon, to approve NEAS pay request number 10, the final for East Side Water Utility elevated storage tank. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
Chuck Becker?
Yes.
Greg Parker?
Yes.
Mary Jo Dixon?
Yes.
Richard Seal?
Yes.
Nick Cuputo?
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Thank you. Number 5, current water capacity needs planning discussion. Any updates from anybody? I know we continue working behind the scenes on things, but...
Nick, that would be entirely accurate and should be reported. If your engineers and your consultants are working on water utility matters particularly in a rather expedited fashion.
Yeah.
A lot of data gathering and compiling of information for reports.
And the engineers are going to respond, the Indiana Department of Environmental Management?
No, Bob.
No, who's gonna respond to them?
This town council will respond with the preparation of your consultants on the
So the
report.
consultants will give their opinion to the council, and then we'll respond with the information we receive.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Number 6, written report, fund report, clerk treasurer.
The cash and expenditure reports were previously sent out to you all.
Thank you, ma'am. Number 7, consultants and staff reports, engineer Neil.
I have no additional reports.
Okay. Director of operations, Mr. Kubiak.
My report was just gonna be that those pumps are en route today, so I already said that, so that was all I had.
All right. Thank you. Town attorney, Attorney Austin.
You'll get my report in executive session.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Jennifer, on the cash, reports, or the journal and that, is that available to the public?
Generally by public record request if somebody wants it. It's not like
We don't
post those.
share that anywhere?
Not out front or not on our website. It changes so rapidly.
Okay.
But if somebody comes in and they have a question, then yes, we provide it to them.
Okay. Number 8, update and discussion, Moore Street water line extension. We have an update on that project from anybody?
It is, completed. I know there's one fire hydrant that needs to be adjusted. They finished the grading there, it's full, and, we're awaiting the next step from getting the, well site, well field, or the production facility upgraded with some chemical treatment and getting that line activated, so
Very good.
that should be, it's in the works, getting the permits and getting the stuff lined up, so.
But the water lines are all in, and
Water lines are in, their restoration's being completed.
so we're waiting for approval from the Indiana Department of Environmental Management to send the water there?
Correct, just to activate the line.
Okay. Number 2, West Side Sewer Interceptor Phase 2. We had this added on the agenda. I think we've gone over this quite a few times with Neil.
Has he got any more comments?
Nothing since the last meeting, but any questions you may have, I'm more than happy to answer.
I'm all good unless anybody else has questions for Neil on that item.
Not at this time.
Okay. Number 3, Lake County JICA for East Side Water Development, $650,000.
What does that, acronym mean?
Joint.
Joint interlocal cooperative agreement.
There you go.
Thank you.
And I don't even think, we don't have 650,000 left anymore, do we? Have we used some of it?
I believe we've had 1 or 2, hang on. We have used $91,278, so it has a cash balance of $558,722.
Thank you.
And what can we use that for?
Eastside Water Utility.
My understanding was East Side Water improvements. Well, exploration, I think it stated, I'd have to pull the agreement back out again, but my understanding was the East Side.
Yeah. Expansion, exploration, upgrades. We've interpreted it as being pretty broad as long as it increases our water capacity on the east side of town.
Tim, I know this was brought up at a meeting previously with you, but there's plans in the works for for spending that money.
Yeah, this is what we just talked about, the Robin's Nest upgrades, the controls, the pumps, all that is planned to be paid for out of this money, so.
Okay. All right, thank you. There's no more discussion on that item. We will move on to...
Could I ask Neil one other question, please?
Absolutely, Bob.
Somebody asked me, one of the residents, we've got an aquifer on the west side of the lake, we've got an aquifer on the east side of the lake. Do those aquifers connect in any way?
Everything connects in every way, but what you use for your production facilities are what's called the confined aquifer, which is below the bedrock, several hundred feet deep. The majority of wells that are residential that are not connected to the Cedar Lake utility, myself included, just outside of Lemon Lake, it's in the unconfined aquifer. Those are generally shallow wells, and mine included is very susceptible to drought conditions. And we've been in those conditions for the past 3 months. So what the town uses for production facilities are less connected to the unconfined aquifers, which are generally shallower and definitely above the bedrock, generally in a sand or a gravel area. So the east side and west side, yes, they're all connected ultimately through the groundwater system in the bedrock through fractures. But they're not related directly to the unconfined shallow wells that the majority of residents who are not connected to the water utility are using for their water, their potable water.
Another question that was asked, with the lighthouse well that was just providing water for the lighthouse, when we add on the police and fire station and subdivisions and stuff in town, they're concerned about what that will do to the people that have wells. Will that potentially drain shallow wells?
The shallow wells which are the unconfined aquifers, and the confined aquifers, which is what those wells are at Paradise Cove, they're generally unrelated in terms of their production capacity and their levels. So in general, no. But as I've said at many meetings before, as an exacting as science as subsurface hydrology is, it's not an exact science. The unconfined shallow wells are incredibly susceptible to drought conditions, especially the shallow wells, less than 100 feet. But you're looking at wells that are several hundred feet deep in the limestone fractures, is what you're using for the public water system.
So you're saying, and Bob opened up this, I'm just curious, because I've been hearing about an awful lot of wells going dry. There is no way that the confined aquifer can deplete the unconfined aquifer.
The unconfined areas supply the confined areas because of just naturally with gravity. But the unconfined aquifers are much more susceptible to drought conditions than the confined aquifers.
So the supply for the confined aquifer comes from the unconfined aquifer?
It ultimately does because, but
fractures and things of that nature.
But we're also talking some of that water is several hundred years old by the time it gets there. But I am not a hydrogeologist, just so we're clear.
Nor am I.
That's why you use the Ortmans and the Peerless and those.
Yeah, and I get all that. I just got beat up by my dad pretty good about this same thing. He said the groundwater system is the groundwater system. And when you deplete a bunch of it, if there's a way for the higher aquifer to drain into the lower aquifer, the more people that are using that water, the less there is for, that's just pragmatic thinking. I understand, he's been around here a long time, did a lot of well work in the past. So I can understand his concern and his aggravation to the fact that we could be depleting our water resources considering we can't get Lake Michigan water here. So I've heard people say in the past, we get our water out of the bedrock. Well, that really doesn't mean anything to the private well owner because in most cases, he was here first. Not trying to debate anything with you, but we don't know for sure, really, do we? It's not an exact science, like you said.
Yeah, it's not, and I've had neighbors of mine that have much more shallow wells than I had drilled 25 years ago, that theirs have gone dry and they've had to replace them, even not during drought conditions. So it is definitely dependent on the depth of those private wells, to be sure.
Well, you guys okay with that discussion for now, leaving it there?
I had residents ask me those questions, and I needed a voice on it.
Okay. Very good. Number 9, JMOB report. Mr. Teal, Ms. Dixon.
We probably won't have a report until after this impasse meeting happens.
Okay.
And we're working on trying to get a meeting lined up with them.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of emails on some dates and stuff like Nick was mentioning before, but nothing's set yet.
And we're past due on the meeting.
Yes, we are. It should have happened middle of last month, and it would have been Lowell's turn, which next one will be Lowell's turn to host it.
Thank you, Rich. We will move on to opening the floor to public comment for the utility board. Anyone here for public comment for the utility board?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Terry Broaders, 14513 Morse.
Hello.
I just have a couple of questions, and I think, I'm hoping Neil might be able to help me out. When we talk about residents with shallow wells versus a deeper well into the bedrock, is there any legal restrictions on a resident going deeper into that well by the state regulation?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
In other words, can a resident dig that deep and penetrate that same aquifer that the public is in, the 300 so feet?
I would say
Neil?
yes. I have a 320-foot rock well in my residence.
So there is no regulation that says if I wanted to dig a well, the deeper I go, the better the water, I could go deep?
And Neil, if you can answer that, if not, that's fine too.
I will answer that with a caveat in terms of those restrictions are set by IDEM and DNR. They are not set locally. So the town can't tell you, you can't do that, but you have to go through the state agencies that have jurisdiction over the permitting of those wells.
Now, is there, in your past, Neil, have you seen that residences, a single house, they recommend a certain depth, like 100 foot, and or can they request a 300-foot depth to get the cleaner water?
Yeah, it depends on the area. I live on the Continental Divide, so my well is deeper, but it is not in the bedrock.
Sure.
It is a more shallow well, and I only say that more shallow with respect to the depth in the confined aquifer. But anything that would be jurisdiction over those wells is not a town matter. It is DNR and IDA.
A lot of times they'll regulate that through topographical and judging where it's at.
And a hydrogeologist or a well driller such as Sheehy, Economy, I mean, two of the best around here.
Sure.
I've used both of them personally.
The economy's going out of business.
I unfortunately have heard that, and that makes me sad, because I worked with them 35 years ago, and I was on the dumb end of the shovel. So they're good people. That's sad.
So I do appreciate your answers, Neil. Thank you very much for your patience. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Anyone else? Public?
Quick one, Carolyn there.
Yes, ma'am.
Cheryl Parker, 7227 West 136 Court. So, back to the Paradise Cove well, would that be considered a high-capacity well?
Yeah, I don't have the results of the overboard test in front of me,
Okay.
but those tests were done, I believe, by Ortman within the past year, and they did 12-hour, 24-hour, 48-hour, and 72-hour overboard tests on those, and they all came in with minimal drawdown, which means the water level within the bedrock, the drawdown is the depth that it draws down.
Okay.
And they were minimal.
All right, and They're pretty close, that well is fairly close to the lake. Does that have any impact on the water supply, I guess?
Everything is connected, as Greg had mentioned, and absolutely correct, but it's also in terms of the depth and the time it takes to get there. They are, while geographically close, they are hydraulically segregated to a very high degree.
I had somebody ask me, do we get our water from Cedar Lake? And I said, no. Cedar Lake is a clay kettle lake that is used for drainage, my opinion.
Gail Brannon, 7014 West 139th Place. The last minutes that have been posted from the utility board is in May, but they've been approved for several months. Can we get them posted online?
On the website?
Jennifer?
Yeah.
I'll discuss with Kirsten when she
Okay.
gets back from vacation.
Okay, from May, the May 2024, utility
Yeah.
board?
That's the last one that's
Okay.
been posted. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, last call for public comment for utility board?
Mr. President, you do have one, or you did have one online. Yes, you
Okay.
do have one online.
Okay. Good evening, just state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi there, it's Jennifer Prensky, 14617 Blaine Street, Cedar Lake, Indiana.
Hello.
Hi. So I just heard a comment about it's not a town matter, it's an IDEN matter. Isn't it kind of a town matter when you maybe overpromise capacity? I don't know. I mean, isn't it? I mean, say the water comes scarce and our wells go dry during paradise, and the town overpromised, the previous town council, town manager, whoever was signing off on all of that, against the IDEM, warnings or their concerns. Doesn't it then become a town issue?
I'd have to defer to our attorney on that one.
Nick, it could, and that's why we are right now studying and evaluating the last 3 years or 4 years of activities of approval, evaluation, decision-making. That would be inclusive of the
Thank you.
group of town council members who are under the president status of Randy Niemeyer. It would also be what we're looking at for the previous town manager and the town administrator before him.
Okay.
That's all an evaluation. It's all being compiled, it's all being looked at, because we probably need to know.
Well, that's my next question. The last meeting, I was informed by the attorney that there's a discovery. Where are we at with the discovery? Has something been filed? I mean, are we just talking? Where's the actions on this?
No, we're not talking. We're reading and evaluating and compiling.
So evaluating and compiling, we're just doing legwork?
Well, if legs are using your mind to read, review, and evaluate, yes.
Okay. I just find it interesting. I mean, is this going to be filed after the election or before the election?
There is nothing going to be filed. It's going to be a compilation that will integrate itself, we think, into reports to IDEM that we have promised to make and have been requested to make.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Nobody else online, Jennifer?
No, that was the only one.
All right, public comment for utility board is now closed. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, October 15th, 2024 at 6:30 PM. We'll start the town council meeting here in about 5 minutes. This meeting is now adjourned at 7:13 PM. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Town of Cedar Lake Town Council meeting for October 15th, 2024. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for an opening prayer?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm Ken Puen from Cedar Lake United Methodist Church. I was called twice to make sure I was going to be here to pray, so you really need that. Now I see the agenda and you're reading the budget, so now I know I need to pray for like millions of dollars. Right? Neil got you 10 grand, I hope that's enough, okay? Let's go to the Lord in prayer. Our loving God, we come asking that you would teach us to be better neighbors, that you would help us to listen better, that you would help us to respond with grace and dignity, and that you would build community here in unity when we find ourselves challenged and pulled apart by our political ways. Unite us in your spirit, guide us with your presence, and lead us to the future that your kingdom builds. Through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Meeting is called to order at 7:27 p.m. Roll call, please, Ms. Amber.
Robert Carnahan?
Here.
Julie Rivera is absent. Chuck Becker?
Here.
Mary Jo Dixon?
Here.
Richard Thiel?
Here.
Greg Parker?
Here.
Nick Recupero?
Here.
I am present. Jeff Bungie?
Present.
David Austin?
Present.
Thank you. First up, we have presentation from Surf Internet. Hello. Please come on up and tell us what's going on.
All right. So,
Good evening.
Good evening. Thanks for having me. My name is Faith Rumfeld, and I am the Northwest Indiana Regional Market Manager for Surf. I'm here on behalf of Scott, Franco, and Jim, who I believe you met before. They are at a retreat and conference up in Michigan, so they asked me to come by for several reasons. One is Northwest Indiana is my market, and I actually just moved to town. So I moved down to South Shore HOA, I think that's what it's called, right? Right off of Dewey Street. So I just wanted to come and pass a few things on. One, we couldn't be more excited to be coming to Cedar Lake. I know communication has probably been a little quiet since you spoke with them, but there's a lot moving in the background. We have expedited our feasibility study. This is the fastest I've seen us move on a market. And then I want to tell you why that's such a good thing. And that is it's high-speed fiber internet. Our cost to residents, our cost to business is more than approachable. We're a company that doesn't do contracts. We want to earn the business every month, and our goal is that you forget we're there because there's no problem. So I really am just here to make some connections and just let everybody know how excited we are about coming to Cedar Lake.
Very good.
Do you have any questions?
You got cards you're gonna give us?
Read my mind. Excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Our residential pricing packages start at $25 and they go up to $165. But that $165 is for 8 gig internet to the home. And if you don't know much about fiber versus you ever go to watch a game on Sunday night and everything lags and starts because the neighbors are all on their internet, kids are doing their homework, that doesn't happen with fiber. It's basically
You wanna give Jeff one?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, you guys can
I'm working.
Oh, excellent.
Straight.
Excellent. So, you have your own highway, so your neighbor's traffic doesn't matter. And then we have a uptime of, I was born on the stage, if you can't tell. No. Our uptime is 99.99%. And what that equates to is that our service is down less than 10 minutes a year. And usually that's maintenance windows between 2 and 4 in the morning. Things happen, outages happen, but our company thrives on being full of integrity and providing the most excellent service all time. So,
Very good.
thank you.
ma'am.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Welcome to town, too.
Thank you, I love it.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move on to public hearing. Number one, ordinance number 1499, year 2024, garbage, refuse, and recyclables rate ordinance amendment. This will be the second reading. Attorney Austin, are the legals in order still?
Legals are in order. You held the public hearing when you advertised for that. This is a second reading consideration and did not require publication.
Okay, thank you, sir. So as Attorney Austin stated, this would be the second reading, adoptive reading for ordinance number 1499, which would basically impact the garbage and recycling rates of the town. As we stated before, we're currently under contract with the Republic Recycling, and there's built into the contract, there's increases every year. We've been operating under the increase since June of this year. And we're just basically considering raising the rates to basically match our operating costs and costs of the contract that we've got, so. Something that I don't think anybody likes to do. I know Bob's really outspoken about not wanting to raise rates, but in this case, we are running in a deficit month after month, and we will run out of money.
And, the way this thing, reads, like from, August 1st of 2024, so that you're going to have to pay back rates, right? Like they're going to have to pay for August, since August is gone, in September.
No.
Well, it says August.
Well, that's when we began working on it, so that's when we
Okay, so
provided
they're not-
this work paper. So upon adoption and proper publication, that's when a new rate would go into effect.
Okay, I wanted that clarified because, and that rate will be $21.36. The following year, it'll be $22.21, and the third year, $23.10, according to the print.
That is what we proposed for rate A, and that has been our recommendation.
Yes. And we've already approved first reading of that.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Mr. President,
Yeah, Attorney Austin's got a comment.
as we discussed, I've had some discussion also with Republic, and this is probably the best we can do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We talked with General Manager, and no changes are forthcoming.
Okay. In a positive direction, as far as pricing.
There were some other discussions, and maybe those discussions can still be had about the way phase-ins and step-ups and progressions. There's a lot of money involved there.
Yeah.
So,
Got a
it
lot of
wasn't talk and
residents
keep
they
talking.
take care of.
I'm sorry?
And a lot of residents they take care of here in Cedar Lake.
No, there's no question about that. There's a lot of money, there's a lot of responsibility.
Yep.
So,
All right.
what I hear, I will of course report to you.
All right, thank you, sir. Move on to reading of ordinance number 1499 by title only. Mr. Parker, please.
Town of Cedar Lake, Lake County, Indiana, ordinance number 1499. An ordinance amending town ordinance number 1386, being an ordinance amending town ordinance number 1057, being an ordinance amending town ordinance number 1047, being an ordinance amending the fees to be charged for refuse and recyclables of the town of Cedar Lake and repealing all ordinances and town code sections or parts thereof in conflict herewith, repealing all ordinances and town code sections or parts thereof in conflict herewith, all matters related hereto, parts thereof in conflict herewith, and all matters related hereto.
Thank you, sir. We'll open the floor to remonstrators. Anybody from the public that would like to comment on ordinance number 1499? Going twice. Last call. We'll close the public portion. Town council discussion.
I would just like to add that we have the motion made at the last meeting about having the worksheet removed, even though I know we still see it in our packet. Just that.
Yeah,
That has been cleaned up and sent over, however, Kirsten's on vacation, so I think that accounted for some of this.
Okay.
But we'll make certain that it's clean.
And we also have to make sure that in the ordinance that, rate A's numbers are included in this as well.
Mhm.
Again, that has been done, Nick,
That's all done, okay.
but we'll make sure
All right, thank you, Dave.
it comes to the top.
I have a comment. We do have some residents that pay, their, rate for the whole year. So come December, they're going to get a minor, payment due, right?
I guess it depends on how much of a credit they have on their account, and eventually, once that credit runs off, they can start to get a bill again, so they'll get that monthly statement, and that shows they owe.
All right, do we have a decision on possibly adopting ordinance number 1499?
Make a motion to adopt ordinance 1499.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion made by Ms. Dixon, seconded by Mr. Teal to adopt ordinance number 1499. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Robert Carnahan?
Unfortunately, yes.
Chuck Becker?
Yes.
Mary Jo Dixon?
Yes.
Richard Thiel?
Yes.
Greg Parker?
Yes.
Nick Recupero?
Yes. Motion carries 6-0. Yes, sir?
This will require publication, as Jennifer indicated, and upon publication, it'll be adopted.
Okay.
That's 30 days.
Oh, it'll be done a lot sooner than that, probably.
Number 2, ordinance number 1501, year 2025 budget. This is also an adopted reading. Attorney Austin, or the legal...
What number is that?
This is, clerk.
1501.
I see that, but
It's on the top of this page here.
it's the one down.
It's item number 3 in your packet.
Yeah, I'm not seeing the ordinance.
Oh, you have to have like
Different form.
very small glasses.
It's in a different form. from that,
It's a
right?
state form.
Yeah.
It's not our traditional, what the town utilizes for ordinances. This is a
Oh,
state
okay, I
form we
see.
are required to use.
I get it now. I thought we just had a breakdown sheet, but I see it's at the top.
So the Form 3 and everything has been published timely on Indiana Gateway as we are required to.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Attorney Austin, we were all good with the legal?
You are, and that's the exact explanation you needed.
Okay. Thank you. So once again, this is the adopted reading of your 2025 budget. And I guess we'll take the reading of the ordinance by its title, Mr. Parker.
Ordinance resolution number 1501, be it ordained, resolved by the town of Cedar Lake Town Council that for the expenses of Cedar Lake Civil Town for the year ending December 31st, 2025, the sums herein specified are hereby appropriated and ordered set apart out of several funds herein named and for the purposes herein specified, subject to the laws governing the same such sums herein appropriated shall be held to include all expenditures authorized to be made during the year unless otherwise expressly stipulated and provided for by law, in addition for the purposes of raising revenue to meet the necessary expenses of Cedar Lake Town. The property tax levies and property tax rates as herein specified are included here in budget form 4B for all funds must be completed and submitted in the manner prescribed by the Department of Local Government Finance. This ordinance resolution shall be in full force and effect from and after its passage and approval by the Town of Cedar Lake Town Council.
Thank you, sir. We will open up the floor to remonstrance. Anyone from the public that would like to speak on ordinance 1501?
I have a quick one. Cheryl Parker, 7227 West 136th Court. I believe in the, either the last or the prior town council meeting, there was a question, maybe Nick, you had asked, Mr. Thompson, if the budget included the possible, general obligation bond that you guys were considering, which I see is on the agenda tonight. Has this been updated for that? For any repayment of debt on that?
Corby, do you mind answering Ms. Parker's question there, please?
Yes, let me pull that up there, but yes, it has been noted, it is included in that budget you guys have in front of you.
Okay, because it looks like the interest is due in the middle of 2025.
Interest will be due twice a year. with
Well,
payment.
it says it would start no earlier than July 15, 2025, so I assume that means there would be something that would be paid out of the budget for that,
It should.
yeah.
If you
So
have-
that is included then? That's all I
Yeah,
was
so
asking.
bond number 2 is the general obligation bond, where you see adopted budget of $388,000.
Okay,
And you see the tax levy of $320,000.
okay, I just wasn't
Yes.
sure where it was included. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening.
Hello.
Jerry Connor, 10330 Paramount Way here in Cedar Lake. As far as the budget item, been having some discussions and stuff about the dispatch costs. Has anything been done with that? There were supposed to be some meetings, or you were gonna try to get some meetings done?
Yeah, there's been dialogue, I forget who had an update on that.
No, we don't really have an update. Mr. Gordon from Cherville's, we've had some discussions. We haven't had a chance to really sit down and hash anything out yet, but we have been in contact with each other.
I would hope that they would continue just with the higher costs involved.
Yeah, I think the goal was to schedule a meeting, correct?
Right.
Correct.
So, and we had a couple folks that were out of town, AIM conference, town-related stuff, but I've been on vacation, it's just been a little bit of a mess, but there's definitely been communication, and we do intend to have a meeting with those folks, too.
Okay, as long as it's on the forefront,
Yes, sir.
that's important.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, anyone else remonstrance for the budget? If not, we will close public comment on that. Any town council discussion?
Yes. Jennifer, would you, I'll read the figure, but you tell me if I'm right. So our adopted budget for all these different funds here in the top portion is $13,831,550.
You read that correct.
All right, but then we have, these other items down below that isn't reviewed by the DLGF, which is $1,056,000.
Yes, those are our home road funds.
Right. And, the tax rate go up or down compared to 24?
It's
So-
it's supposed
Go
to
ahead,
be
Corby.
pretty steady.
Yeah, so based on all of the numbers and figures we have, right, we're still, the GO bond hasn't been issued or approved. But based on the levy that was there, so if there is a GO bond that is closed on prior to year end, we estimate that the tax rate will decrease by about 1 penny.
Okay.
Now, what you see on your sheet shows about 82 or 83 cents. Now, that's higher than what we anticipate the actual tax rate to be, and the reason is we just want to make sure that if there are some big changes with the assessed value, then, more importantly than not, we want to make sure that the town's getting the funds, the levy, in order to fund this budget properly.
Thank you.
Yes.
Very good questions. Any other town council discussion? Seeing none, is there a decision to adopt 1501?
I make a motion to adopt 1501 ordinance number.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Ms. Dixon, seconded by Mr. Teal to adopt ordinance number 1501. Any discussion? Roll call, please, Ms. Amber.
Robert Carnahan.
Yes.
Chuck Becker.
Yes.
Mary Jo Dixon.
Yes.
Richard Teal.
Yes.
Greg Parker.
Yes.
Nick Cupido.
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Bob?
Mr. President, I would like to amend the agenda so that, we won't take action until after public comment, but I want to amend it to put on, potential to get, funding for, equipment.
Very good. To discuss, potential equipment funding?
Yes.
Okay. You have a motion made by Bob, do we have a second?
I'll second.
A motion by Mr. Carnahan, seconded by Mr. Becker to amend the agenda to add an item, to discuss the funding of equipment. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
Chuck Becker?
Yes.
Mary Jo Dixon?
Yes.
Richard Beal?
Yes.
Greg Parker?
Yes.
Nick Recupido?
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Bob, do you want to explain, because we were going to allow public comment, do you want to
Yes.
explain to
The
the
reason
public?
why I amended the agenda before public comment, I wanted everybody to be aware that we're going to have this item in case anybody wants to, speak about it. We're going to discuss, potential for, a street sweeper, a payloader, and a vacuum pump. That there's federal funds available. We'll, after public comment,
Yeah,
we'll take you up here, Ryan.
and the reason I think why we're doing it is because there's a deadline
Right,
this
there's a
week.
deadline on one of them for this Friday.
Okay. All right, thank you, Bob. We can discuss that, right after public
Can I ask
comment.
Tim a question really quick?
Go ahead.
What kind of shape's the payloader in right now?
Yeah, they're
not- What do you have?
They don't qualify.
Decent, but,
Have you looked at new ones?
it's a 2000.
Okay, have you looked at new ones?
No, not really.
Do you know if they have regen on them or not?
I think everything has some type of regen. I don't think you can buy anything. I think that's part of the thing with this grant, has to be.
Well, let me get your opinion
Tier
on something.
5.
This grant that Bob is proposing, and this is, I gotta ask. That payloader that you have has to be destroyed to get that grant money. I don't like the idea of that, because the payloader you got is probably more dependable than the payloader you're gonna get.
Yeah, that's a tough pill to swallow for me also, the part that the current, you have to move up to that tier 5 level. So, yeah, the one you're replacing, or the one that's being replaced needs to be taken out of service.
And that's a federal requirement.
And that's in order to get 80% of a new one funded, so it's a pretty big, trade-off, I guess, if it's, if the stuff is super dated and needs replaced, I mean.
Well, that's kind of what I'm struggling with.
Yeah, it was for me too, but if you do the math and look at 80% of the cost of a new machine plus a 5-year service commitment with that machine, and then you think of we're responsible for 20% of that entire cost, so, I mean, it's a pretty, at the end of the day, it weighs out to, and I get it, I mean, I hate to, lose something, but at the end of the day, it's a way of moving forward for a whole lot less money than, current. I mean, and again, to buy anything new, and now, they've been out a little longer, not a big fan of the whole setup either, but,
It's just not dependable.
yeah, and it's the way, yeah, I believe that the equipment stuff, the regen thing is a little bit better than the trucks with the DEF and the.
Well,
those systems, I think.
that's what I was gonna ask you, if you got anything that has that equipment on it already, that you've been able to see how it works and how it responds?
No, but I know a lot of people that do have newer equipment now, and the new, with the regen deals, it's been a lot better than the other emission control stuff, so.
Well, it concerned me on the vac truck too, because the vac truck has a lot of idle time, and that's when these things plug up, when they're idling. So,
And the new vac trucks are like ran off of one motor instead of 2 motors, which kind of eliminates that idle time, so you're utilizing one engine to do all the work, so it doesn't one's not sitting there idling while you're using another one, so. There's, again, they've come up with, technology and everything is getting better and better and better, but I agree with you, I mean, we all depend on computers for a lot of things, and, you know, it's just the way it is, and I think, you know,
I just hate to waste two viable pieces of equipment, because that's the way the feds have written the grant. It's basically, we're wasting two viable pieces of equipment that taxpayers paid for taxpayers to pay for other equipment. It just seems to be it's more the things that drive me insane,
right,
the way government works.
it kind of took me that way also, but when you do the math and look at a $500,000 vac truck for $100,000, you know, so at the end of the day, you know, you're still gaining quite a bit on the deal, but it is hard pill to swallow to think about something that is decent or is dependable or non-emission or whatever, you know, so.
And what one of my other council members told me is that, some of these, pieces of equipment that they've tried to hang on to, now they can't get any parts for them.
I'm sure that's by design as well.
Okay, we will discuss this a little bit more after we have public comment on agenda items. I'm opening up the floor for public comment on agenda items only. If you come up, please state the agenda item you'd like to speak on. Second call. Nobody online, Jennifer?
No attendees online.
Thank you. All right, last call.
What, were you gonna get up?
What's agenda item?
Agenda items, so items that are on the agenda that we're gonna act on or speak about tonight. This is the portion where the public can speak about those items.
Oh, okay.
You get a chance at the end too.
Yeah, for general things at the end. Okay. Public comment on agenda items is now closed. Did you want to discuss this now? Well.
Yes, maybe let Ryan come up and, introduce himself and.
All right, good evening, Town Council. My name is Ryan Lissick, 14220 Windsor Street. I also have the esteemed role of being the chairman for the Stormwater Board. So the funding opportunity that we're looking at is the NERC-NOPA. NERC is Northwest Indiana Regional Planning Commission Notice of Funding Announcement. So it is an 80% funding opportunity, and the three pieces of equipment that we were looking at and talking about were A, the wheel loader, B, street sweeper, C, a vac truck. And we have quotes for a vac truck and a street sweeper, and once again, this is 80% funding. Is there anything that's going to be shared? But so the vac truck is going to be about $566,500. Under this grant, it would be $453,200 paid for, with a town match of $113,000. For the street sweeper, it's $391,500 total, and the grant would pay for $313,200. Town match is $78,300. And this is not any different alternative fuels or anything like that. It's new Tier 4 final diesel equipment. Yes, there are regens, but we're looking at dual engine units, and the town specs right now are not needed to be defined, but we have a closing date of when this application needs to be submitted, which is this Friday, October 18th. And the funding would not come into play as far as when you would be awarded in order to start your project. However, you'll have 5 years to complete your project, and we're going to be looking from 2026 to 2030 of when that project would begin. But you'll have 5 years to take delivery of that new equipment, pay for it, destroy the old equipment, and submit for reimbursement. So you will need 100% of the money up front in order to satisfy the reimbursement needs for this. So
Does that money come from NERC?
The
original pool?
Well, our reimbursement.
Your reimbursement will flow through NERC, but originally comes from INDOT. So this is funding that's only available for Lake and Porter counties, and this is a great opportunity to replace some old equipment that's on its last legs, and How many people have seen the street sweeper or the vac truck? There's been a lot of money put into the vac truck, and that is an essential piece of equipment. Same thing with the street sweeper. It needs a lot of investment in order to function. With these kind of opportunities, we can include 5 years of maintenance as part of it, which is definitely needed.
Can I interrupt you for 1 second?
Yes, sir.
The vac truck that you spec'd, is that a Cummins power plant?
Yeah,
I think so.
yeah, it has an L9.
Okay.
So we're not talking about anything out of the ordinary. If this is typical municipal equipment, we would be looking to go to Sourcewell for procurement, and there's 2 major entities, dealers that sell this type of municipal equipment, from a street sweeper and a vac truck, that can provide services and serviceability after the sale, which is huge. So with all that being said, it's a great opportunity, and what we're kind of leading on the town council on is to get approval to apply for this.
So, okay, so my questions, Ryan, first off, I want to thank you for bringing this to our attention. It could be possibly a great opportunity, maybe 1, 2, or all of them, depends on what the council wants to do. So the deadline is October 18th. What do we need to do to apply for it, and what strings will be attached, and what do we have to obligate ourselves to by Friday?
So there's going to be a letter of commitment that needs to be completed. Now, that could either be done by the board, it could be done by Ms. Sandberg, it could be signed off on by Town Manager Bungie. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that this is approved by the town council in order to move forward, because this is essential equipment that is needed. It's not as essential as a fire truck and saving lives. However, it is essential for MS4 compliance and making sure that we have equipment that has uptime that can be used. And you don't have to contract services paying $250, $350 an hour from private companies. You have the staff, they're well-versed, they're educated, they know how to use the equipment, but they don't have the equipment that's needed.
And you will write the grant.
I will write the grant. I will work through everything for you in order to get it submitted. This is my real day job. I work with fleets across the country. I work with all the major municipalities across the state, but this opportunity is only eligible for Lake and Porter County municipalities. And if the town of Cedar Lake doesn't go after it, some other municipality will.
Is there scoring that's involved with these? Or?
Yes, of course it's competitive.
Okay.
But I think we have the environmental background on the type of equipment and why it's needed for the town. There's a big push for disadvantaged communities, which Cedar Lake does not fit the bill for. However, there is a need for this, and in working with all the other municipalities, there's not a lot of projects that are going to be applied for with this funding. So this funding is only available every 2 years. The most important thing is to get it into the TIP, and they will work with the town on figuring out when that equipment can be purchased, and you'll have a contract from NERC and from INDOT in order to know when you will be able to begin work in ordering that equipment and getting it delivered.
Approximate lead time, Ryan, as far as by the time you get notification and, and the reason why I'm asking is because we have a fire truck that's now out until, what did we hear, September of next year?
Yeah.
Approximately. And it was applied for last year?
No, 2022, I think, is when that was purchased.
So I guess my question is that when we're notified that we're now in queue, is it usually pretty quickly resolved that we get delivery on that piece of equipment?
Yeah, I'd say within 6 to 8 months from when you put your purchase order together.
So this all happened really fast.
I apologize, yeah.
No, don't apologize. I'm glad you spoke up, but there's a few ducks that we have to get in a row, you know, financially, if this is something that we wanna pull off. But being that time is of the essence, does it hurt to apply for this, while we get the financial stuff straightened out, or? Well,
Just,
Tim?
I mean, I don't know if you, Ryan explained to me that once we did receive the grant, we had 5 years to purchase the equipment, so we don't, you know, I mean, even if we get the grant, we should have enough time to plan for it, I mean,
That's what I was thinking.
in that time, I would hope, I mean, but.
Well, I was under the impression that the vac truck and the street sweeper were under a different grant than the payloader, that the payloader was only a 25% match through IDEM, and the street sweeper and the vac truck were through NERC 80% match.
We
Was that true?
We could technically apply for all three pieces of equipment under the NERC NOFA.
Okay.
The only problem is it's gonna be sometime between 2026 and 2030 when you'll get a notice to proceed. From the different conversations I've had with Mr. Kubiak, it's more important to get the payloader here faster than it is to have the other equipment. But with that being said, that would be through Indiana Department of Environmental Management, Diesel-Wise grant, and that would be 25% funding. And so certainly we can include that in the overall application, but you'll be able to most likely be able to purchase a new loader in April and May of next year at the latest. So it's a much quicker turnaround time as far as getting that notice to proceed from the powers that be versus you might get it awarded between 2026 and 2030. That's 5 years. So with all that being said, if the need right now is to get the payloader as soon as possible, the 25% funding opportunity is available. And just for reference sake, the town keeps the scrap value, sell it for parts, what have you. All we care about is putting a hole in the engine block.
So we can sell it and get scrap money.
Absolutely. And with that, there's a lot of value in the vac truck and the street sweeper that can be used and sold for spare parts. But you got to nickel and dime it.
And which piece of equipment do we gotta get in application in by this Friday?
Ultimately, that's gonna be the town's decision.
No, but I thought it was like the payloader needed to be submitted by Friday, or all three of them?
It could be all three of them, but we're only prioritizing the street sweeper and the vac truck from previous conversations. However, that's fluid. But the way that I consider this is essential equipment to town and public works operations. You know that you're going to be needing this in order to keep up your MS4 compliance.
I'd like to keep, sorry to interrupt, I'd like to keep the street sweeper and vac truck separate than the payloader, just for decision-making. But I do have a question for Tim as far as the payloader. If we were to, let's say, just get a new payloader tomorrow, what was the intention with the old one, aside from the grant?
I mean, I would keep it, obviously.
See, yeah, I would rather,
But, yeah, I mean.
you know, explore a different avenue for funding for the payloader, with the intention of keeping it as a backup one at the yard for whatever reason. That's why I'd rather keep the street sweeper separate with the vac truck.
He's got something in mind we need to discuss, it could go.
Yeah, so I'd rather keep it separate right now, and just for that reason.
He's got something in mind.
Yeah, and again, it's just,
You could
and
do all
again,
three.
25%'s a lot of money, so you gotta do the math, you know, but, I think it's
You're
a
suggesting
good
we keep all three
opportunity.
together?
Yeah, I got a text message from him that explains it.
But even with the destroying it?
Yes.
Yeah. He has two, he's gonna destroy the worst one. and keep
That
the
would
other
make
one.
sense.
So you got two of them and you're gonna destroy the worst one?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Where you been hiding that one?
We could move forward.
Maybe two tractors now.
What he's talking about makes sense, we could move forward.
Then that would, yeah, I thought we only had the one.
All right. Any other questions for Ryan? No? So you would, if we wanted to proceed with this, we would just need a motion to direct him to apply
Yes,
for this grant?
yes.
And that would be all three then, just so we're clear?
I'm okay with that if you...
That'll work great, Tim. All three.
Yeah, I think with the 5-year thing, and I don't think we're gonna get them all at once, right?
It makes sense, right.
We never know.
We don't know. You're putting it into the project funds that are associated with road building, streets, and it all comes down to how the federal money is, leaving the quote-unquote pot for Lake and
And you dealing with Lake and Porter County, I mean, do you have like 30 more communities turning this in now, or, I mean, can you give us a, like?
You can't be going up to the podium at other communities, you gotta stay here. Okay.
I mean, is there a lot of people in the ring, I guess?
There isn't. I'm just being honest, there isn't, and I've had this little, I don't know if I want to call it the devil or angel on my shoulder that's been chirping me about the street sweeper project for quite some time.
We definitely need a street sweeper.
So.
He's an angel.
He's an angel. The angel of Cedar Lake. And so with all that being said, it's an opportunity, there's a need for it, and just don't pass it up.
Tim, you want the payloader sooner, right?
Again, I mean, that was kind of my intent with the bond, if we were gonna buy one thing, that would have been my first pick before a street sweeper, just due to, I don't know the time frame to the next thing, so, but, I mean, all three of these are pretty viable pieces of equipment for
the reason I'm
the
asking,
cost.
do we wanna go with the 25, 75, where 75 is from the federal, or do you wanna go with the 80-20, where we get 5% more?
I mean,
More than five.
25 to 80 is like 55%.
Well, it's a 75-25, and this is
No.
an 80.
No, it's the other way
The
around.
other way around, 25.
They pay 25%, we pay 75%.
If we go with that program, but he said he could put all three into where we get all 80-20.
Right, potentially.
So I have a question.
I think that, I mean, and again, getting rid of the old one and the 80-20 deal is probably better. I mean, and like Ryan said, the other one is a little quicker, but, at the end of the day, if you're gonna give me an 80% discount or a 25% discount, I'll take the 80.
So Ryan, as far as like pros and cons, if we were to just do the street sweeper and vac truck, any advantage to just having those two other than putting the payloader on it and having three, increasing that request? Could that hurt as far as the application goes?
So like the worst case scenario, if awarded, the worst case scenario is not getting awarded. But the other second worst case scenario is that all of the equipment will be pushed back to 2030. However, these pieces of equipment are a lot easier to deploy as compared to building a bridge, building a roundabout for the municipalities. If NERC doesn't spend money in their federal year budget, they get dinged. So we've had projects in the past that have moved up within a quick amount of time frame, but all of that kind of negotiation takes place with the town council, with the town manager to approve before anything of that nature would happen. So there's not really something in there that would hurt, but it's
Well, I guess my question would be, if you were asking for $1 million versus $2 million.
No, it wouldn't hurt.
Okay.
And one thing, if NERC doesn't use this money, they gotta return it back to the federal government.
Yeah, it goes back into the quote-unquote kitty.
And somebody else gets it instead of Lake and Porter County.
Ms. Ray, do you have a question?
I do, Ryan, I would just like for you to reiterate, you said it was a 80-20 match, but it's it's reimbursable. So if they're going for three pieces of equipment, that would be every single total cost up front, waiting for that 80% to come back?
Yes.
Okay.
So you would have to, if you're going through all three pieces of equipment, you would have to probably spend about $1.2 million, and I'm just doing a quick math in my head. But assuming that the payloader is gonna be somewhere around 350,000, depending on which side we're gonna be looking at. And we can get estimated quotes relatively quick. But with that being said, yes, you would have to pay for that all up front before you get reimbursed.
And what's the turnaround?
My experience has been 2 to 4 weeks. But it has been quicker, it has been, slower than that, if you will. But usually it's 2 to 4 weeks.
Jen, you have something to say?
Nope.
Just wanted to make sure. Always talk to the lady with the purse.
This is a decision for you all to make.
Ryan, can we apply for both programs? Even though they're all through NERC, one of them goes through IDOT, and the other one is through IDOT, okay. And then the other one is a federal program?
That's how you end up in Northwest Indiana Mayor Jail. You cannot combine federal funds with federal funds. And so the way that the funds are coming from IDEM are federal funds. So even though it's 25%, I'm joking around, I apologize.
That's okay.
Even though it's 25%, you can't offset those costs.
Okay. That's not my question. So if we apply for all three vehicles at the 80%, 80-20 split, okay? And can we also apply for the payloader in the diesel 25% program? And if we get the diesel program at the 25% off, then we would drop off our request for the other unit, the other payloader, at the 80% payoff.
I mean, you could, but 25% is better than 80%. That's what
Well, I get it, but if the allurement is
faster,
if we're that much faster settling for, let's call it settling, for the 25% grant, and we get it, let's say we get that in 2 years, and then for the 80% one, if we're pushed out to 29 or 30, now we may want to still stay in the hunt, but who's to say we're not going to have something blow up in the subsequent 4 years? So I guess that's my question.
I don't think that would be an issue. We definitely could do that, but there wouldn't be anything that would hinder you from that approach. So, absolutely.
Since you're talking two different programs, you're talking
That makes
about
sense.
maybe where the money originates from, from the get-go, maybe close to similar. But now that they're administered in two different programs or do two different granting, processes, I guess.
And if that were the case and we were awarded through NERC, that could just be a project change where we could substitute another piece of equipment for the wheel loader as well. And as long as those funds are attached to the town of Cedar Lake, they want to see those funds spent versus just dropping out. So that is approachable.
And that's why I asked Tim, would he be okay with the 80-20 program instead of the 75-25? And he indicated you were happy with going with the 80-20 on the payloader, right?
Right, because the other one's 25%.
Yeah.
We're paying 75%, so.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I think Jeff's idea is a great one if that works, and like you said, I mean, the regular combination backhoe is a 2000 also, so I mean, we have stuff that, I mean, if you're having an 80% replacement, I mean, and if we could switch to a different, whatever the case is, I think we can make something work. I mean, seems like it's fairly flexible, and having that 5-year time frame to know that you have it and then you need to utilize it kind of really, opens the door for planning, and it gives you some time to figure out, how to accomplish that and how to make it happen. As far as equipment size, cost, we have some numbers that we talked about, budgeting we had some estimates for a new vac truck. Ryan had some stuff for a street sweeper, so we kind of, he's basing it on a number, including that 5-year maintenance plan, which is another huge benefit that, you know, you're getting 5 years of that maintenance on that piece of equipment for 20% of the cost of it, you know, so it's pretty big thing to have. So I mean, I don't see any negatives other than getting rid of the old stuff, but it is what it is. I mean, it's part of why they're doing this, so.
So we need to make a decision on, do we want Ryan to, move forward and write grants for us?
Yeah.
I say yes.
So, there's no more discussion. Would somebody like to make a motion to direct application for the grant for the vac truck, street sweeper, and payloader through NERC, and the payloader through IDEM? Does that sound all right?
Yes, and who would that letter of commitment come from? Are you granting the power, if you will, to have it signed off by the town manager?
I would say so, huh?
You would have.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could do it, Nick.
Oh,
Town council president.
okay, I can do that then. Yeah. If that's sufficient for you, Ryan.
You'll get it in the morning.
Okay. Well, if this gets approved.
I'd make that motion as stated.
Okay.
I'll second it. Greg got it.
All right.
Who made the second?
Greg.
Oh, Greg did, I thought you did.
Yeah. Motion made by Mr. Teal and seconded by Mr. Parker to direct the application for a grant for a vac truck, street sweeper, and payloader, through NERC funding, and a payloader through IDEM funding, with the application to be made by the town council president. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
Chuck Becker?
Yes.
Mary Jo Dixon?
Yes.
Richard Beal?
Yes.
Greg Parker?
Yes.
Nick Recupido?
Yes, motion carries 6-0. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you for listening to my concerns.
Thanks, Ryan.
Good to see you.
We'll move on to the consent agenda. Number 1, minutes from September 17th, 2024. 2, claims, all town funds, $266,332.07. Wastewater operating, $25,767.69. Water utility, $63,488.15. Stormwater, $9,747.91. Payroll, October 1st, 2024, and October 10th, 2024, $404,503.69, and September remittances, $214,360.35. Manual journal entries from September 1st through September 30th, 2024. Donations, K-9 donation to include the following: Ben Tomko, $500. Fire EMS donations to include the following: Pearl Ozinski, $1,000, and Robert and Linda Ratchich for $50. Thank everybody for their kind donations. Do you have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion made by Mr. Parker, seconded by Mr. Becker to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion?
Yes, just one here. On the first claim page, it's Midwest Electric Incorporated, fourth quarter traffic signals of $804. Is that at the quarterly report? Do we pay that every quarter?
Yes, they come out and they maintain the, traffic signals. Mm-hmm.
Is that what it is, 1502? I don't have a number.
Yeah. Any other?
I was just curious, looking at that. That one caught my eye.
Thank you, Bob.
Yeah.
Okay, roll call, please.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
Chuck Becker?
Yes.
Mary Jo Dixon?
Yes.
Richard Teal?
Yes.
Greg Parker?
Yes.
Nick Recupido?
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Ordinances and resolutions. Ordinance number 1502, Town of Cedar Lake General Obligation Bonds, Series 2024. Mr. Parker, by title only, please.
Town of Cedar Lake, Lake County, Indiana, ordinance number 1502. An ordinance of the Town of Cedar Lake, Lake County, Indiana, authorizing the issuance and sale of bonds of the town for the purpose of funding the cost of certain road and equipment projects of the town, together with expenses in connection with the issuances of bonds and account thereof and all matters related thereto.
All right. Thank you, sir. Mr. Thompson?
Yes, so this is kind of just the first step in getting the town eligible for doing a general obligation bond sometime this year. Again, this doesn't hold you to anything, but this is what was essentially adopted and shown in the budget ordinance that we previously saw. I'd be happy to answer any other questions, but that's really what this is. This is just an introduction to.
Okay. Attorney Austin, did you have something?
This is for authorization of a general obligation bond financing in the amount not to exceed $3.1 million at an interest rate not to exceed 5.75% in a term not to exceed 12 years.
Okay. And this will be a first reading, this will be a two-reading ordinance, and
And the second reading will happen 10th of October.
November.
November.
Public hearing, November 7th.
November 7th.
That's that special meeting.
Okay.
Oh, I have that, you're right.
Any other council discussion on this item? If not, is there a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance number 1502?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion made by Mr. Teal, seconded by Ms. Dixon, to approve the first reading of ordinance number 1502. Any discussion? Roll call, please, Ms. Samber.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
Chuck Becker?
Yes.
Mary Jo Dixon?
Yes.
Richard Hughes?
Yes.
Greg Parker?
Yes.
Nick Recupedo?
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Number 2, ordinance number 1503, appropriation. Town of Cedar Lake General Obligation Bond, Series 2024. Mr. Parker, please.
Town of Cedar Lake, Lake County, Indiana, ordinance number 1503. An ordinance of the Town of Cedar Lake, Lake County, Indiana, appropriating the proceeds derived from the sale of general obligation bonds of the town and all matters related thereto.
Thank you. Mr. Thompson.
Again, this is just something that will allow you guys to spend the proceeds if that bond were to be issued this year. It's really just a formality, but that's essentially what this is. It allows you to spend those funds.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Any other discussion?
Just other than we got like 2 ordinances in here, one you marked up, Dave, with red ink.
It is. So you can see where we started.
Yeah.
I'm just starting to figure it out, Bob.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance number 1503?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion made by Mr. Teal, seconded by Mr. Becker to approve the first reading of ordinance number 1503. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
Chuck Becker?
Yes.
Mary Jo Dixon?
Yes.
Richard Hughes?
Yes.
Greg Parker?
Yes.
Nick Recupedo?
Yes, motion carries 6-0.
Hey, Dave. I got someone text me, said they can't hear you online.
Okay.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
on that bond, that does include fire and a fire truck and ambulance. At what point in time would we start, we would know a dollar on the ambulance we had to work with, is what I'm saying? Any idea?
Well, Corby, can you explain how these, when the bonds are issued and when the money's available?
Sure. So just so you know, Chief, we did earmark $1.1 million for the fire truck and $400,000 for an ambulance.
Okay.
We do have further discussions and meetings that we need to have to kind of finalize, again, if we end up issuing a bond this year, what is available. But it's really ultimately up to the council on, amounts that need to be allocated towards equipment or road projects or things of the like.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
We're gonna have some other dialogue soon about the purchase of the ambulance then?
Yeah, we will have to.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It depends on what your definition of soon is, but.
Like, after this meeting, you got something going on, Greg?
All right, resolution number 1360, appropriation transfer. Parker?
Town of Cedar Lake, Lake County, Indiana, Resolution Number 1360, a resolution authorizing appropriation transfers by the clerk treasurer for the following funds during budget year 2024. Whereas the Town Council of the Town of Cedar Lake, Lake County, Indiana, does find that conditions exist at this time and that it is indispensably necessary to expand certain sums of money by the proper legal officers of the Town of Cedar Lake, Lake County, Indiana, by way of transfer of funds within the categories of appropriations. Now therefore be it resolved by the Town Council of the Town of Cedar Lake, Lake County, Indiana, and the following transfers are to be made in the specified funds between major budget categories.
Thanks, sir. Ms. Sandberg, are you taking this one?
Yes. So some of the department heads have made transfer requests, and then I also noticed within the line items that some were needed for necessary operating expenses. So within the general fund, we're looking at total transfers of $55,003. Within the town council department, total transfers $17,500. That is $1,000 from professional services to travel, and that is $16,500 from professional services to property and casualty. Under police department, total transfers of $1,000, that is $1,000 from professional services to travel. Planning, zoning, and building department, total transfers of $7,500, that is $1,500 from the director salary line item to the full-time staff line item, and then $6,000 from the director line item to the attorney line item. Within the fire department, total transfers of $12,300, that is $300 from office supplies to postage, and $12,000 from equipment repairs to vehicle repairs. For parks and recreation, we have total transfers of $16,703, that is $2,000 from full-time staff salaries to the PTO payout line item. That's $7,500 from fuel to event supplies, $600 from facilities to dues and subscriptions, $4,603 from the attorney line item to miscellaneous supplies, and $2,000 from equipment repairs to miscellaneous services. Under the motor vehicle highway fund, total transfers of $1,100. That is $1,100 from FICA Med to uniform allowance.
Thank you, ma'am. Any discussion on this resolution? If not, is there a motion to approve resolution number 1360?
So moved.
Would anyone like to second?
I'll second.
Motion made by Mr. Carnahan, seconded by Mr. Teal to approve resolution number 1360. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
Chuck Becker?
Yes.
Mary Jo Dixon?
Yes.
Richard Thiel?
Yes.
Greg Parker?
Yes.
Nick Recupido?
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Number 4, resolution number 1361, excess levy appeal petition. Mr. Parker, please.
Town of Cedar Lake, Lake County, Indiana, Resolution Number 1361, a resolution authorizing an appeal to the Department of Local Government Finance for an increase of the above maximum levy, whereas the Town Council of the Town of Cedar Lake, Lake County, Indiana, has determined to appeal the Department of Local Government Finance for excess property tax levy.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Sandberg, will you take this one, or Corby?
Either or.
Okay.
Do you want to, Corby, or do you want me to?
Yeah, I can mention it a few things. I mean, this is, again, kind of just a formality. The budget ordinance that was already approved includes this amount that's being proposed here. This is really just something that's required by the DLGF. They just require a separate resolution kind of acknowledging that this 3-year growth appeal has been reviewed and approved by you as the council.
Thank you, sir. Any other discussion on this item? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion made by Mr. Becker, seconded by Ms. Dixon to approve resolution number 1361. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
Chuck Becker?
Yes.
Mary Jo Dixon?
Yes.
Richard Thiel?
Yes.
Greg Parker?
Yes.
Nick Recupido?
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Moving on to BZA Plan Commission. Number 1, approve Rose Garden Unit 1 letter of credit extension This was approved by the Plan Commission at a special meeting on October 2nd, 2024. Any discussion on this item? Was this a one-year extension, 2025?
One-year extension, and they're supposed to be here.
Was it monthly?
At the Plan Commission
At your
meeting.
Plan Commission meetings?
Once a month, yep.
Okay. You had a representative, I think, there at the last meeting, and they
Yes.
understand that, right? Okay.
First time we've seen somebody.
Hopefully it's not the last, Bob. Okay, is there a motion to approve this extension?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Teal, seconded by Mr. Carnahan to approve Rose Garden Unit 1 letter of credit extension. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
Chuck Becker?
Yes.
Mary Jo Dixon?
Yes.
Richard Seal?
Yes.
Greg Parker?
Yes.
Nick Recupero?
Yes, motion carries 6-0. New business, R. Yeager Road Cut proposal for a private water line under a public roadway. Hello, good evening.
Bob Yeager, 13416 Cedar Street.
Okay. So,
And I'm here for, permit approval, with the guidance of the folks here, Jeff and his team, and the town. Got the water, the well, it's kind of been sputtering for many years. We've tried to keep it around. We were led to introduce a sheehy. They've come out, they've been great. The only path forward for us, because there's no way to move the equipment in that area, is to put in a new well. Unfortunately, the cost of these things is quite high, but we have to do it across the street. Fortunately for us, we have the property across the street, we own that as well. And so she brought in a partner of theirs, Mike Bush is the name, Nice Excavating. Apparently they do very good work, and they've come out and they've assured us that it's a very straightforward process for them to directionally bore right under the road. They clean up everything. They've given me this whole packet. And so we're here and, yeah.
Okay. So this is in Cedar Point Park?
Yep.
I guess it's not uncommon for people to own property across the street there, from their home.
That's,
Yeah.
pretty much everyone on the street does.
But I don't know how common it is that private water lines are run underneath the road. So does anybody have any history with this in this town, or legal, do you have any?
First time I've seen it.
Okay.
I've seen it in the past at Planning Commission, like a garage across the street or
Mhm.
something of that nature. It's been a while, but we have, instances in the past where people have had an outbuilding across the street from where their residence is. Pre-platted subdivisions typically.
This is new to me, Greg, so, it's going underneath a public, roadway. What do we need to do to protect any perceived interests of the taxpayers in this town?
Probably an easement and probably an indemnity agreement of some kind, hold harmless style action.
You remember some of these, don't you?
Well, yeah, I guess I don't know of any utilities. My advice to Jeff was to have him come to the council I would assume, like Mr. Officer, there's gotta be some kind of, he'd have to be responsible for locating that line. It would be crossing the right of way. I know that there's several, like Surprise Park and a couple subdivisions actually have their private water distribution systems in the road right of ways. They're on the west side.
Shared well community, yeah.
So there is, I don't know what kind of agreements they have with the town or other, that's a utility, I guess a utility versus a private homeowner. He's got his whole house redone. He has no room for a well, I mean, on his property, so he's kind of in a pretty unique situation, I guess, but they do have, I mean, I didn't know, I mean, my first thing that comes to mind is that the two pieces of property would have to be somehow tied together, since that would be providing the potable water for the house on the other lot, and I don't know if they are currently, since you own both, if they're on one, you know, if they're together or separate. But then also just the thing comes in mind, if, you know, if somebody calls and locate what, you know, the town is responsible for locating their stuff in the roadway, and then the utility companies are responsible for locating their stuff, so this would be another one of those things that if something was going on and this wasn't located, it could possibly be damaged or something.
Easement by deed or something of that nature?
I'm sorry?
What are you prescribing for this?
It's gonna need an easement, so that proper grant of use is provided to the private property owner, and hold harmless for indemnification agreement.
So how do you cover the locating it in the future part of it?
You just have to throw some generic language in that easement, that it's all his responsibility.
What about tying the two properties together, so in the future,
If it's two separate residences.
You can't sell one and then-
Difficult
Right.
to tie them together, and you got two separate legals.
Now, Tim, what about that cut in the road on the main street going into Cedar Point Park? What was that? Was that sewer? Was it cut in the street?
On Morris?
On 100,
No,
I
no,
think you're
on
talking about
100
134th,
134th.
where the new houses are being built across the street from each other, I think. we were
Sewer,
talking-
yeah.
That was sewer? So who checks and supervises this? Because there was a big hole left in that job that the street department had to come back and repair. So who inspects
I
this?
mean, we
My question.
inspect the tap, and then we inspect the road repair.
Okay.
I mean, that particular instance was just because the curb was undermined, it was pretty insignificant, but, you know, a little settling, obviously.
Right.
But
I just want to make.
it was because the curb wasn't cut, though, and they put stone back in there, but they were down 5 foot below the curb, so there was a little bit of, I mean, it was minor, but, we do inspect
Okay.
and try to make sure that it's good, and I think we were gonna have, I think that was that first one, and we were calling them to have them come back out and repair it, and when the street department guys went out, it was pretty minute, they put a little stone in there, and it was nothing.
Thank you.
Tim, is there any additional infrastructure required here, a manhole, some type of?
I don't believe so, I mean, it's basically gonna be a
Less than 100
two 1-inch pipes coming from the well to his house. It's gonna, obviously, he's gonna have to have electricity going from his house to the well, and then water going back to the house, so nothing other than two 1-inch lines. I'm imagining that they're gonna put them down probably 5 feet deep or so. The chance of them ever getting messed with are gonna be slim to none, just because I'm sure they're gonna go down and come right up into your house.
Yeah, they already have the
Underneath.
locate out,
Right.
he showed zero concerns.
Yeah,
As far as
they'll
the
go
actual
down and
cut,
come right up in the middle of
it's
the
only a
house.
10-inch by 10-inch cut, just to confirm his depth. It's not actually cutting across the
Yeah,
entire
it's
road.
bored, is it
Yeah,
bored?
he's gonna bore all the way
Yeah.
just under right under it.
Okay.
Is this, Attorney Austin, is this something that could be approved contingent on, whether it be like a a private utility easement under the road with the indemnification agreement?
It could. I might recommend that, the town requires all or inspection and checkoffs according to town standards.
Do you, this is just for my own personal information, Mr. Yeager. Did that well go out because it was just old?
They told me they tried to keep that alive even before I purchased the property. They've got records on it, and they think it's just shallow. I think it's 20 feet.
Yeah.
And so they believe that could have something to do with it, but again, I can't put in a new well where that property is. I'm on the street line, so, yeah, that's all, only information I have.
Cause there was one that went dry 5 doors south of you last year, so. just curious what, if there's a pattern. Okay.
Well, I think there is a pattern, and I think this is the first of, this is probably not the first time we're gonna get a request like this, because the way that part of the lake and the lake shore particularly has been overdeveloped, and as other folks have issues with the shallow wells that they have, like I said, I'd be very surprised that this is the one unique case that we'll ever see at this council, because it's gonna happen again.
Yeah. Okay. Any other discussion on this item? Tim, do you have anything else to add?
No, I mean, that was, my concern was just that, like Mr. Johnson said, that hold harmless, I mean, that's the only thing I could see happening, somebody coming through and, installing something and damaging his lines, but obviously that would be his responsibility to, obviously if something's happening, they're gonna see and be able to say, hey, I got some water lines out here, you know what I mean, that they live there, but.
Yeah.
It's definitely and like, I agree with what Mr. Bungie said also, if you go through there, that whole lakefront on Cedar Point Park, there's a lot of stuff there that people didn't think about what happens when I need a new well. Because that truck is big and they need quite a lot of room to get in there. And there's a lot of places in town and around the lake where the topography, you got hills and places, and it's tough to, when you go in there to try to put a well rig and a pump truck and figure out how to do it, there's not a lot of room, so.
Yeah. Okay.
It's crazy.
Hold harmless agreement. What kind of easement? Utility easement?
It would be a generic utility easement.
And inspected that it's installed by town standards.
Correct.
I'm gonna make a motion to,
Can I ask one question first? Is this an easement agreement that you would draft, Dave?
Probably.
I mean, or
Yeah,
would
probably.
that be
At the
up
expense
to
of
the petitioner? Or should that be
Clearly.
delineated in the motion? I'm just thinking, because I'm sure there's a cost involved for doing writing a document.
There is, and all costs should belong to the property.
Yeah. Yeah.
does that need to be in the motion?
Yeah, you could add that in this clear. Sure. Not the first easement I crafted.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion to approve the proposal for a private water line on our public roadway contingent on a hold harmless agreement for the town, a generic utility easement being established that is inspected by the building department to ensure that it's built to town standards, and the cost for all these items be bared by the property owner.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Mr. Parker, seconded by Mr. Teal to approve this road cut proposal for a private water line under a public roadway, contingent on a hold harmless agreement being drafted, a generic utility easement being established, inspection and checkoffs by the building department to be to town standards, and all costs belonging to the property owner for this action. Sound good, Mr. Parker? Okay, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
Chuck Becker?
Yes.
Mary Jo Dixon?
Yes.
Richard Camp?
Yes.
Greg Parker?
Yes.
Nick Recupedo?
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Thank you, sir. Yep.
President,
Yes, sir.
I may need information. Jeff and I have been talking about this, so kind of anticipated
Okay.
a review at least, and I'll get with Jeff and Mr. Jager for that information.
Very good.
He
All right.
looks up. We'll talk to him or me. Okay.
Number 2, Corrales requesting waiver from building moratorium for 13336 Wicker Avenue. Do we have someone here for the petition? Good evening, guys.
Good evening, my name is Doug Homeyer with McMahon, and with me is Mr. Crowes. We were before the Plan Commission last year, I believe, December 6th. They have the property as you described on Wicker Avenue, and my client was looking to put two buildings on it, one right away and one in the future, and we came before him to say, could we put both buildings on one property, or do we need to subdivide, go through subdivision process for the two buildings? And they informed us they'd like to see a subdivision in the two buildings. So we then had our marching orders of what we needed to do. So we started field work and working on the engineering. And as I talked to Mr. Oliphant, I asked him a few questions about the property. He goes, oh, by the way, you know, there's a moratorium on that. You can't get sewer right now. No, I did not know that. So then we started getting conversations with Mr. Fungi about, is this property exempt? Or what can we do? We showed him and drew up another site plan with only just one building, so we would not be going through the subdivision process. And asked them, you know, is this something that could be approved? We went back and forth, and he wasn't sure, and yesterday, Mr. Crillo said, hey Doug, can you go to a BZA meeting tomorrow night? We're here asking for a waiver so that we could get sewer for this project. And that's where the project stands. The property, gross property is 2 acres, net is 1.73 when you take the right of way for Wicker Avenue. We know there's certain items going on with NDOT. I've already been in contact with NDOT. We had everything designed to work with their improvements. So I guess right now the entire project is dead in the water until we know we can get sewer. And that's why we're here tonight. So Jim, you got anything you would like to add?
Just that we've been working on this for a couple of years now, and the moratorium came to us as a big surprise, so as you can imagine, we're a little frustrated about hearing about that, but we'd like to see if this route will work for the town for us to move forward, because we do have a business we want to put in there, and
currently are in zone B3. We never got an answer, is this property exempt or is it not exempt for allowing sewer?
Well, first, for clarification, is it the sewer issue or is it water? I mean, I think it's more water issue.
Well, the moratorium was generally.
For acres as well.
Yeah, it was for an acre of land or greater that wasn't already platted. So that's where your property falls into that category, but the moratorium was instituted because of problems with sewer and water.
We intend to, the project was going forward and fully known that we were going to take the water from the south side of the McDonald's and extend the water main down to the south side of this property, and it would be on water.
Okay, that might be your biggest problem.
That's the problem.
Because, have you guys been following what's the communications we've had with Indiana Department of Environmental Management?
Yeah, bringing the water down was the town's idea. It was
Well,
definitely not.
I'm just asking if you have any clue.
No,
Okay.
not at all.
Okay. So, I guess Plan Commissioner's attorney, would that require an NOI then, an extension of the water line?
it would. It would require an IDEM permit.
Absolutely.
And IDEM told us that they wouldn't issue anymore in town because of the issues that we have with water capacity. It's been ongoing for years now.
And currently that was for whether it needed water or not. Correct?
It's a fire suppression.
Yeah, our biggest hurdle is IDEM right now. Your biggest hurdle is IDEM. Everybody's biggest hurdle is IDEM, right?
And we're trying to come up with a solution and work through those issues. I don't know how quick you're looking to get started.
Yesterday?
Yesterday.
To be honest, I mean, we just would like to know which way we're heading, because it's been a couple of years, so.
Well, I'm gonna make a suggestion that we err on the side of caution and defer this item for now, so we can get some further.
Why don't you consider, asking them to attend the plan commission work study session, show them the plans, get through the development component of it at the same time as we're working through our item response report.
I just hate for them to spend more money that we don't have.
Well, it's concept. I would suggest it be, a visit type meeting at the plan commission, showing us what the project is proposed to be conceptually, and at least keeping the matter moving.
Is there plans for a water main to be extended south on 41 then?
We don't know. Developers have to tell us that. We know that on the east side of Route 41 there is. Yeah, that's actually ought to be, it's on the plan commission agenda tomorrow night.
But there again, the town cannot, approve anything. We're trying to resolve our, concerns that item has with us.
And just to summarize for you gentlemen, August 8th, I received a letter from Indiana Department of Environmental Management. And that's the water hurdle here. And we had a meeting with those folks down in Indianapolis towards the end of September. We went 25th. And basically what they told us is that you don't have capacity to serve anything else. So adding water line doesn't they won't allow any water line extensions because of the fact they're saying we don't have enough water to serve anymore.
The well can't keep up with the demand.
That and storage, yeah. It's a storage issue as well as a production issue that this town has had it's going on a few years. It's not anything new. It's new to some people, but it's.
Is it at all possible to develop this piece of property on a well?
That would be something that would have to go through the plan commission, I'm sure, right?
It would go through item 2 because of the NOI.
And the extension of the water mains. You'd want that available for fire suppression, for emergency.
That's why I was suggesting defer it till we can.
I would think, even though I'm not on plan commission, my question is, would the house stay there when you put this building up?
At this time, yes, because the house is on the north side of the property and we're looking to develop the building on the south side.
So my question would be then, how does that work then with having the business and the house on there with well and also with the fact of the multi-use? Because now you have a residency and a business on there.
Well, it's kind of common for the area.
Yeah, but I know that in past discussions, we were trying to clean some of that up. And this would be just putting right back into it.
It's continuing a residential use in a B3 property.
Okay.
So if this were to go to the plan commission as a concept, we would still have to give approval for that, considering the moratorium.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, it's,
So the house
required.
continuing to exist even if it converted to some use for the business, like an office or whatever?
Yeah, I'm just asking, I just didn't know if it was still intending on staying there and
Does that require BZA approval or just plan commission approval?
it might, depending upon all aspects of it.
I would think the intent would be to keep it as residence and have somebody living in it, correct, Jim?
Correct.
The business would be a total separate building on the south side.
That's probably why subdivision was required at the time. You may still need a subdivision.
The intent was
Probably
that house
does.
would be taken down.
Probably does.
If
A lot of
it
record.
was subdivided and the subject property that they're discussing for the business was less than an acre, it would be outside the moratorium, correct?
It would.
So it might still be in your best interest to go that route.
to re-subdivide, you're saying, like parcel it off?
Well, it's 2 acres, right? Nearly 2 acres?
2 acres gross, less than 2 acres net.
Yeah.
I think you've taken that out.
173, you said?
1.73 acres.
So if it's subdivided, they're dividing the vacant property off of the residential property, the residents can continue to exist. If the new property is less than an acre, then it's outside the moratorium.
Correct.
Well, it depends on how big the building is.
Yeah.
Well, that's the town's moratorium. The IDEM item still remains.
The IDEM item, It's too early to, I mean, again, this is just since the 25th of September. Item says they're not issuing any more NOIs for us until we upgrade significantly.
Or come up with a plan.
Yeah, have a plan to upgrade. And, you know, without, I mean, I could get into great detail with that, but it's not, Jimmy, I could call you and give you a real good synopsis of where we're at. We don't take up all this meeting time tonight, but, and I don't have a problem doing that. Give me, I probably have your contact information. And I can give you a real good idea of where we're at. I don't know how long it's gonna take us to get straight with that.
I understand the deferring as well, and I kinda see both sides, you know, of having them come here, but, you know, in all honesty, so they don't, you know, spend any time until we figure anything out. I would think as long as you stay in contact with them, once we understand what's going on with IDEM, it's kinda, you know, pointless, I'd say, coming in just to show the plan until we know what, you know, whether it be a year from now or whatever, 6 months, we don't know.
And maybe it's best for these gentlemen to get in contact with somebody from town to get filled in on exactly what's going on, you know?
Great,
For-
Mr. Parker, can update you, Jimmy.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah. Yeah, 'cause that's the biggest thing that came out since, you guys applied in December is that IDEM thing, so. And they're.
And then we're also not sure if, being that we are in front of the planning commission, did that have any weight that we started this project prior to all of this?
No,
No, the moratorium was, parcels were, properties that were not platted already, those were the ones that were subject to the moratorium, regardless of whether you were on the agenda or not. But like you said, the water line is gonna be your biggest hurdle.
Yeah,
We-
that's
you know,
the
we can
issue,
do everything
more
we
than
can do here, but
moratorium.
the water line is gonna be the issue, and we're beholden to IDEM, as are you. But you need to be filled in a little bit more on this, what's going on, so you can understand if you can proceed or wanna proceed in the near term.
You want a deferral for tonight?
I would think that would be best.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
Okay, I'll make a motion to defer, this item, the waiver from building moratorium for 13336 Wicker Avenue,
I'll second.
Length of time?
for at least a month. Go a month at a time on it till we figure something
I just thought it might be.
Want
Yeah.
90 days on that, maybe?
If you'd rather have 90 days,
I don't think anything's gonna be resolved.
I'll amend my motion to 90 days.
Okay.
90?
Yep, to include 90 days.
I agree.
All right, motion made by Mr. Parker, seconded by Mr. Teal to defer this item for 90 days. Any discussion? Roll call?
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
Chuck Becker?
Yes.
Mary Jo Dixon?
Yes.
Richard Pugh?
Yes.
Greg Parker?
Yes.
Nick Recupedo?
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Number 3, C-Bell pay request number 2 in the amount of $536,080.50 for the Morse Water Main Extension Project. We've got the report from Christopher B. Burke in the packet. Any questions? Tim gave us an update on this project earlier. Anybody like to make a motion?
So moved.
Motion to approve by Mr. Carnahan. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Becker. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
Chuck Becker?
Yes.
Mary Jo Dixon?
Yes.
Richard Pugh?
Yes.
Greg Parker?
Yes.
Nick Recupedo?
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Number 4, C-Bell change order number 4 for Shade Subdivision Improvements Project Phase 1 from $1,832,539.77 to $1,783,562.94. Once again, we have the information in the packet. Anybody like to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Motion made by Mr. Teal, seconded by Mr. Parker to approve this change order. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
Chuck Becker?
Yes.
Mary Jo Dixon?
Yes.
Richard Beal?
Yes.
Greg Parker?
Yes.
Nick Recupedo?
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Number 5, C-Bell pay request number 8, final, for Shade Subdivision Improvements, Phase 1, in the amount of $440,315.41.
Make a motion to make this payment.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion made by Ms. Dixon, seconded by Mr. Becker to approve this pay request. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
Chuck Becker?
Yes.
Mary Jo Dixon?
Yes.
Richard Beal?
Yes.
Greg Parker?
Yes.
Nick Recupedo?
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Number 6, guardrail for Sunset Harbor in the amount of $16,525.00. Mr. Kubiak?
This was the updated quote that you guys asked for at the last meeting, so,
And it was proposed to take it out of TIP money.
Okay.
But do we have to wait until we have a RDC meeting to get that approval?
You do. The redevelopment commission oversees that money.
Okay.
Funds.
And that wouldn't be till December then, right?
Yes, I had requested that
Oh,
a
so we
special
can do it
meeting,
then? Okay.
that a special meeting occur on November 7th after the special town council meeting.
So it can be on that one?
If
Okay.
you let me add it to the agenda, we'll add it to the agenda.
So does any action have to be taken at this meeting?
You can't take any to spend money that you.
Right, so we'll have to wait till that.
Right.
If you wish to use TIP.
Make a motion to transfer this.
Well, I had a, phone call today about this actually, asking, why the town was paying for this and not, a mutual agreement with the condos. So I just figured I'd better ask the question since it was asked to me.
Because we're not doing it for the condos, we're doing it for safety.
And my response was more for the fact that it's a, roadway, at the curve there. It is going in between the sidewalk and the roadway, so.
Safety.
Yeah.
It's in a public easement, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, that was pretty much my answer, so I just wanted to, you know, bring it out there that I did receive a phone call about that today.
It's town property.
So this thing got damaged in a car accident, correct? There was no insurance or hit and run?
No,
There was no guardrail.
essentially, there is no guardrail there. I mean, we put the 6x6, with the rope up there years ago. That's been damaged 12 times probably. A couple times, we've gotten some insurance money to pay for it. A couple times, we've had to repair it on our own, just due to the lack of what, of what happened. There was, somebody hit it and wrecked it and left, or...
So this is an extension?
So this is actually taking that out and putting an official guardrail around that corner to keep that traffic bouncing back into the road instead of through the sidewalk and through the fence of the condo. So it is a safety concern with people walking on the sidewalk. I mean, obviously, the condo's fence has gotten wrecked several times also, so I can see why somebody would ask the question. But it has impact deals on each end of it, so if you hit the end of it, that kind of drove the cost of it up a little bit more. So if somebody, when they do hit it, it's got those impact, things to slow you down without, whatever, your car. So that was the updated quote. It's not a whole ton of guardrail, but it will, according to the guardrail guys, that'll keep the cars from doing what they've been doing, bouncing over the curb and over the sidewalk and through the woods, so.
The last time they went through there, they totaled 2 vehicles and, caused substantial damage to a third one.
I don't know how long it'll be before the
And almost hit the gas
rail
main.
is but.
I didn't hear that.
On the side of the building.
On the Tuesday page, there's a pool.
So,
Yes, sir.
so I would say that we defer till the 19th then, if we have the meeting on the 7th? Would that be correct then?
RDC has ultimate authority over the expense, right?
And you can advertise or notice up, doing it all the same night.
I was just wondering for the action today, do we defer or what do we?
Could we approve it contingent on RDC's,
You don't have standing to approve, Bob.
So just remove it
Yeah,
from
you
the...
can remove from the agenda or take no action.
Okay, we'll just take no action, huh? Or,
I would rather just, make the motion to remove it.
I'll second it.
okay. Motion made by Mr. Teal, seconded by Mr. Parker to remove this item from the agenda. Any discussion?
We are gonna put it on the RDC agenda, correct?
Talk to your president. Rich, you're gonna put it on the agenda?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Just trying to clarify.
Thanks, Chuck.
All right, any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Robert Carnahan?
yes.
Chuck Becker?
Yes.
Mary Jo Dixon?
Yes.
Richard Field?
Yes.
Greg Parker?
Yes.
Nicholas Cupido?
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Reports, town council reports.
Well, Bob, do you wanna go first?
No, I
You're
gotta-
taking
I
a deep
gotta-
breath over there.
I gotta get some-
Okay, I'll go first then. We need to reapply for the mechanic position. Re-advertise because the person that, accepted the offer now took a job elsewhere. So we need to re-advertise for that, position again. And then as far as the applications for water crew worker, Mary Joan and I, met, with, Mr. Kubiak, and interviewed someone for that position. As well on the same day, we also interviewed, somebody for, the building department, planning, director / position. That's all I got.
All right.
You ready, Bob?
Sure.
All right, October 19th, will be the last household hazardous waste, program, and it will be held at Griffith Public Works, 134 South Colfax Street in Griffith, and that's open from 9 to 2. So, they take batteries, and they take aerosols, corrosive, diesel fuel, flammable liquids, fluorescent tubes, gasoline, it says, oil and other fluids, oil-based paint. I didn't know they were taking that again. So that's, you can go to their website and, that stuff is on there. And then the Gene Eberly Parade of Lights is Saturday, November 23rd, and it doesn't cost anything to be in it, so anybody that would like to enter a float, feel free to contact the chamber. And, the chamber is going to have 165 Christmas trees this year, brightening our community, and they've already have a commitment for about 90. So, and they only did 150 last year, so they increased it to 165. They're gonna have some down by Bartlett Wahlberg Park this year.
Thank you, Bob.
Yeah, I'd just like to share with the council, if you're interested in attending the AIM dinner, if you'll let Jen know, the dinner is November 6th at T-Bowles. I attended the AIM conference in Fort Wayne. The meetings I went to, and I'll be sharing information with you guys, is the required rule impacting all water systems, effective communication with our community, social media updates, and also municipal utility responsibility and planning strategically for growth. So I'll be sharing that information, but those are the workshops I went to.
And Greg, Chuck, and I, we can't cover that.
Planning commission.
Next week,
I know.
we got planning commission.
I didn't plan the dinner,
All right.
just sharing.
Anything else, Mary Jo?
That's it.
Bring some leftovers.
Any other town council reports? Seeing none, we'll move on to town attorney Austin.
Yeah, I've already made them in the exec session.
Thank you, sir. Clerk treasurer, Ms. Sandberg.
With the adoption of the budget, I now have a quick turnaround to get all the forms and gateways submitted timely to the DLGF by their deadline, and then we'll just wait to hear back from them. We await what's called the 1782 notice. Traditionally, end of December is when they've been putting those out, so we'll know whether or not they have approved or modified our budget.
Thank you. Town Manager, Mr. Bungie.
I was at the same AIM conference that Mary Joan was at last week. Made some real nice contacts with the IMMA, which is the Indiana Municipal Managers Association. So, and I go to a couple of the seminars, TIF. And we were together in the social media privacy, Second Amendment workshop. Couple of very good financial workshops as well. So definitely learned a lot, and look forward to having it in the arsenal as we move forward.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you guys for attending that too. Director of Operations, Mr. Kubiak.
No, I was just gonna reiterate that what Jeff, or what Rich said, that the mechanic position needs to be re-advertised, and I didn't hear anybody. I don't know if we can direct Jen, or you guys can direct Jen to go ahead and get that done ASAP, so we can see if we get some more.
If you guys are cool with it, I'll post it tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yep.
And Mary Jo has indicated that we need to advertise in more places.
If we don't find the holes, we need to extend our, I went to one of the workshops, they do, a lot of you do use that Indeed to expand the area.
I mean, if you want me to look into Indeed, that's fine, just so long as we know there's
Objection to
probably
that?
a cost.
Yeah. I mean, I'd give it a shot if we never tried it before. I mean, I hear people use that stuff all the time, so.
Indeed?
Yeah.
It's cheap, it's not expensive.
Yeah. I'd give it a shot.
Okay.
May I suggest reaching out to the Ivy Techs and the colleges as well and putting a posting there for mechanic, if they might have some new graduates. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Police Department. Chief Brinningham.
Just wanted to mention that Thursday, October 31st, from 5 to 7 p.m. is the established trick-or-treating hours for the town, and it's most other towns. It's consistent with what we've done in the past. We'll have extra patrols out for that as well. I'll have my reports at next week's meeting for the Board Safety Public meeting, and have some other reports on staffing that meeting, if that's okay with you.
Yes, sir.
And I've posted the trick-or-treat hours, and I also posted, they got a thing on there that tells all the places in Lake Porter and the four counties.
Yeah, we have a post on our social media as well for safety tips and, typical things like that. Yeah. Thank you.
Mom, check your candy.
Thank you, Chief. Fire Department, Chief Wilkening.
I only got a couple things, because I have tooth pulled, so you're all in luck that I don't want to talk much. So, the hiring process is going pretty well. We've got pretty much, at the end of this week, we'll pretty much have everybody onboarded, and all the background checks and all that stuff we're currently waiting, Sarah and Jen are currently waiting for the background checks and stuff to come back, so they're taking some time. Those folks, we also have a interview next Wednesday at the Board of Safety for, we have one applicant for full-time, and then we have 2 volunteers. With the addition of Gagliardi, we're at 15 full-time people, and we're slated for 16, but unfortunately, Zach is gonna leave at the end of the month, so we're back down to 14. So if we hire this next full-timer, that'll put us at 15, and then we have another full-time paramedic, or a paramedic that's trying to pass the agility test. If he passes that, then we could hire him, and we'd be at full 16 staffed with paramedics. Oh, yes, and also on the good news side, the 2 paramedic, or 2 EMT firefighters that we invested in as a town of Cedar Lake, and the residents and the taxpayers invested in this year, have passed their paramedic class, first test, the final exam. They have some practical stuff that has to be done, and then they have to take the national registry, which it's a tough test to get through, but if they pass pass the, or the actual hospital test, they should pass it, so we could be even in better shape with a couple more paramedics that were EMTs. So, everybody just please keep your fingers crossed and do a little praying for us. We had a good open house this year, and we tried something different. We had some food trucks there, and we did not have the pancake breakfast. There were some people coming there that, I think they wanted to beat me up because we didn't have pancake breakfast. They're like, where's the pancakes? So, hopefully next year, if things shake out with the new stations, we'll have, I'm gonna talk to the police department and do a joint open house with them, and if we could do it at the new facilities, we could really blow it out, make it a nice, you know, public gathering for everybody to see the facilities, and if we have to wait that long, if not, obviously we'll dedicate it when we open it, and we'll do a thing then too, but it was good, it was a little different from what we were used to doing, but the food trucks, they did a good job, so it was nice to see everybody there. Just as I mentioned earlier about the ambulance, if we can start at least, I had talked to Nick about at least starting to look around to see if there's anything out there right now that we could possibly get in a sooner time period, whenever the bond is ready to go, obviously. I'm gonna start just search and see what's out there that we may be able to pick up, that's in the assembly line somewhere, or, if you guys wanna go to the bid process, that's fine too. It's just we need to start that process as soon as we can, as soon as we get permission, so.
Okay. We're getting there, Chief.
I know, we are. I'm very, appreciative, I really am, so, I think that's it.
All right.
I have a question, if I can ask.
Yes,
At the
ma'am.
safety board meeting, I'm not on the safety board, you may have forwarded it, but there was no report given at that time, a monthly report. Nick didn't have it available, was it made available since then?
No, he's still working on it.
Okay, thank you.
We have a lot of different things that need to be plugged into that didn't get done in the past. So it will be done by, actually, I shouldn't say he's gonna be on vacation next week, but he's working on it this week to put that in the next week.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Parks Department, Ms. Ray.
Hi, Council.
Hello.
I wanted to report that we are moving forward with the event planning for the trunk or treat, so if Halloween doesn't turn out to be a good day, show up here on town grounds on October 26th, is a Saturday, from 12 to 2 for trunk or treating. We have a lot of great vendors that will be on site to pass out candy to the kids. We do have a costume contest this year as well, that begins at 11:30. That is a new component to our trunk or treat event. We are currently accepting Park Foundation applications for the Park Foundation Board. Application deadline will be November 21st, and applications are on our website or can be picked up personally at the park office and dropped off there as well. I wanted to remind the public that there will not be a park board meeting, the regular scheduled one for November 7th this year. It will actually be moved to November 21st due to staff and board members attending IPRA, Indiana Parks and Rec Association Conference, annual conference. And I also wanted to make an announcement that we the Parks Department has been maintaining our community section tab on our website. So if you have an organization or you want you're part of an organization and you want to promote an event, please just reach out to the park office. We would just ask for a digital copy of your flyer, and we'll post it there. So it's pretty accessible, and we're cross-promoting other events that are happening here in the community and projects.
All right.
Mr. President, I got one more
Thank you,
thing
ma'am.
to say real quick.
Thanks,
Oh, I thought
ma'am.
you were done. I'm sorry.
No, that is all I have to report on.
All right, thank you.
I wanted to thank Jennifer for the quick turnaround of the offers of employment for the people, and also getting the onboarding process done as quickly as possible. That was, we really appreciate that, but I know there's things that do slow it down that we have no control over, and that is the background checks and stuff too, but her office really expedited things for us, and I really appreciate that, thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer.
I've got one other thing, unless you were gonna say something to him?
I was just gonna say, pass that along to Sarah. Sarah in my office really gets things going.
Project Love Food Pantry is open tomorrow from 9 to 11:30. We have so many potatoes, I need people to show up there. And, we also received from the Northwest Indiana Food Bank 61 gallons of milk, or 60 gallons of milk, so if we get 60 families, we'll give 60 families a gallon of milk tomorrow.
It's all fine and good, Bob, but a lot of people boycotting the milk industry.
Oh, okay.
Does that mean we'll have 120 gallons of milk to give away next month?
Moving on.
Sounds like Bob's gonna be making some potato soup for us.
Yeah, right.
We could have a potato soup contest.
We gotta give it away the federal guidelines of income.
We're kidding.
Okay.
You gotta make above 60,000 to not qualify, all right?
That's like, one person in a family can earn $27,000 and come to the food pantry. And it goes up as your family increases.
All right, thank you, Bob. We'll move on to written communication, building department report. I could take this, so first, you want me to take this, Jeff, or?
I was not prepared.
Okay, it's all good. We had in September of 2024, we had a total of 63 permits, for all other permits. And for new construction in September, we had 21 new construction permits, which was up from 17 in August. Year-to-date for new construction is 136 permits, with 131 being residential and 4 being commercial. For a grand total, God bless you. Grand total new construction, $39,679,257. And Christopher B. Burke report.
I was gonna touch on a couple of things in here.
Yes, sir.
Being that we're closing out, the end of the construction season, the one thing that I had of note, and it has a little bit to do with what Ryan was talking about earlier, but it's a NERC/state legislature INDOT/IN IDNR update. The town was notified that on April 21st, that 2 of 5 project applications were accepted in the draft 2024 through 2028 TIP. Many of these have been discussed already, but there was a little bit of a reallocation. The raising of the 133rd Avenue from Rock's Nest to Colfax Avenue and the Founders Creek multi-use path. The 133rd Avenue project is now programmed in 2025 for construction, which are protect funds at a level of $454,504,000 in federal funds and $626 in local match. The second project is the design and construction of the Founders Creek multi-use path, which are transportation alternative funds. This program is designed in 2026, of which $72,685 of federal funds and a $32,000 local match. And for construction in 28, of $1.4 million in federal funds and $355,608 in local match. We did have a notice of funding availability, a NOFA, for the 2026 through 30 TIP. And we do have 3
projects that will be submitted for that money, and that is just across the street over here, 141st Avenue Bridge widening and replacement just east of Morris, the Pickerel Creek culvert on 147th Avenue at the very southern end tip of the lake, and there'll be some preliminary engineering and some local site work, I'm sure, due on 133rd Avenue sidewalk from Faith Church to Robin's Nest with an estimated value of just over $1.1 million.
Do you also want to mention to us about our conversation I had with you today about VES Engineering and looking over that material and scheduling a meeting with them?
I can briefly, hopefully for the November 7th, I guess, special meeting that we're going to have to call. We're going to have to sit down and I don't know if anybody hasn't done their homework from last meeting and go through the VNS packet. It does have recommendations in it from, for paring down the project down to a 4 to 6 foot right-of-way. But then there's also some concerns on whether or not if we cut it down to 4 to 6 feet, are we going to have to then increase buffer zones between the sidewalk and the curb? So there's still a little work to be done, and this is something we're going to move forward with for next year, and for 26, we're probably going to have to sharpen our pencil and get cutting on that and make our final recommendations here in the next few weeks.
So you all got some homework to do in the next
So
2 to 3
you all have
weeks?
some homework to do.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff.
All right. You're welcome.
Number 3, request for refund demolition instead of remodel. We have written communication from Clear Contractors. The letter states to Cedar Lake Building Department and Town Council. Clear Contractors would like to formally request a refund of the fee paid for the remodel permit for the property located at 12613 Hilltop Street in Cedar Lake, which was issued on August 14, 2024. Due to the direction of the Cedar Lake Building Inspector, the owner of the property has decided to proceed with the demolition of the existing structure rather than undertaking the remodeling. As such, no work has been performed under the remodel permit, and we believe we are eligible for a refund. Please find enclosed a copy of the original permit application and payment receipt for your reference. We appreciate your attention to this matter. Please contact us with any questions you may have. Thank you for your assistance. Sincerely, Vince Hausman, Clear Contractors.
So that's a refund of $103?
Yeah. Building Department, Tim, do you have anything on this?
No,
Or is that for you, Jennifer?
I was just gonna say, the amount was wrong. The amount would be, $2,543.
Refund. They ended up paying $100 for a demo permit, so everything was refunded except for that 103, I believe, Bob.
Okay.
Or it was asked to be refunded, but they started, getting into the house and, there was nothing left. There was nothing left to repair. They would have had to put in a new, the more they tore down, the less was there, and, they weren't, they didn't have planned putting in a whole new foundation, new floor joists, new, what it needed to be done to fix the house properly, so they just decided to switch the remodel project into a demolition project, and they're asking for their permit monies back, so, obviously, whatever they paid, the permit for the demolition would be $100, so,
It's $100 plus a $3 credit card fee.
Yeah, I think that was exactly right, so.
So what is the exact dollar amount? Is $2,543 that they're requesting be refunded?
That was permit 24644, which was the, complete home remodel permit that was submitted.
Okay.
So that would be my understanding, is that's what they're requesting back, because the demo permit was receipted in separately.
Okay, well, I think it's only fair. Yeah. They're not using it, give them their money back. So we need action on this item?
You do.
Okay. Anybody like to make a motion?
You gotta amend the agenda or just make a motion and give them their money back?
It's on the agenda.
It's on the agenda.
Yeah. I make a motion to return their permit fees.
I'll second.
Motion made by Mr. Parker, seconded by Mr. Teal, to refund the permit fees of $2,543.00 to Clear Contractors for unused permit. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
Chuck Becker?
Yes.
Mary Jo Dixon?
Yes.
Richard Peel?
Yes.
Greg Parker?
Yes.
Nick Recupido?
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Update and discussion, number 1, moratorium resolution number 1348 and resolution number 1349/Indiana Department of Environmental Management meeting on September 25th, 2024. So we touched on this, I think at the utility board meeting as well as at this town council meeting. We've directed Christopher B. Burke to start drafting up a response to IDEM, and that'll go through us before it gets sent off to IDEM. And that's where we're at. We're in somewhat constant communication with IDEM. I believe we have a good relationship with them right now. I want to keep it that way. I think everybody does. And that's where we're at. If anybody else has anything to add?
Nope.
No? Okay. Number 2, personnel policy update. Who would like to take this hat?
I can start.
Okay.
So last year, I received permission to engage with New Focus HR to work on a personnel policy update. That's exactly what we did. We had a draft together, and it's just kind of been sitting in limbo. I've sent it out a few times. Just last week, I resent it out, as well as what the current personnel policy is. That way, if you guys wish to do side-by-side comparisons. But I just ask that you guys review it so that we can move forward with the update to the personnel policy, because the personnel policy has not been updated properly since 2009.
Thank you.
So I didn't read through it all, Jennifer, but it said something like the town council's supposed to kind of go over this every year. Is it supposed to be done?
That's pro forma language.
Yeah, so it's completely up to you, but I definitely think it should be reviewed periodically, sooner rather than later, especially as the town grows and as we add more personnel, more everything, really. But it's way past time that we get this updated.
So we need to review it and then eventually put it on the agenda to act on it? Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, fair enough. Any other discussion on that item? Okay, we will move on to public comment for the town council.
Gary Kiner, 10330 Paramount Way. As far as the fire department, I know we just kind of lost another member today. Is there any consideration in the future to add personnel to this department? We've got a new station, and it's going to be even happening in that.
So at the beginning of this year, I think we approved 2 new hires, right? We've never ran with 16 or 15.
Yeah, we're completing that process now. So.
Yeah, so we hired 2 more this year, and it's everybody's hope and wish to continue to staff all these departments as the town grows. We just have to figure out how we do that financially. But yeah.
I mean, it's something that needs to be done. I mean, being formerly in the fire service, I mean, obviously I have a scanner at home, and I hear their calls, and there's been 2 instances in the last week where I believe Chief Wilkening went on one by himself because the rest of the crews were out on ambulance calls, and his call was an accident. Luckily, the people self-extricated, and there were no injuries with it, but it could have gone totally south. And I believe today the same situation happened, correct? I mean, there was 2 ambulance calls, and then they reported a smell of smoke in the house, and all the crews were gone, and it was Chief Wilkening that I heard on the radio. Nobody else, engines didn't go out or anything, because they were on ambulance calls. I mean, sooner or later, this is going to catch up with us, and we're going to lose a life or something.
Well, we've also applied for the SAFER grants from time to time, and we just never had any luck with them, right? Or, I mean, at least in my time, but.
And to what we say, we did have mutual aid coming, don't,
No, right, but that's also.
Yeah, you know, the car crash was late at night, and, St. John was coming to help us on that one, and they had Lowell coming, so, but the time is of the essence, obviously.
Is there gonna be another round of grants for?
The SAFER grant is every year, yeah.
Okay.
And it seems like every year it's getting harder and harder to get Indiana. Like, we did not get the air pack grant, we've been denied. And when you look at the grants, just in Indiana alone, wasn't that many, it was just a few. And unfortunately, you know, we do all this work and do all this research, and, I mean, we overqualified for that grant, we really did. And, Chief Maga wrote it and did a great job of doing it. It just, you know, there's a committee that selects it or selects the award. So we're gonna have to figure out, and Jennifer, her and I had talked about kind of a backup plan on that, and there's possibly some money somewhere where we can look at that here soon. But next year we will apply for the SAFER grant again, and we will apply for the equipment grant again. And they focus on personal protective equipment the most, you know, because we wouldn't qualify for a fire truck. Really, the fire departments that don't even really have a fire truck get fire trucks. But for us, the air pack grant was the most common grant that they were awarding. But Indiana didn't fare very well this time around.
Okay.
And that's 100%, you know, through the federal government, so.
Yeah, we're continuing to work. I think everybody's committed to public safety on this council. It's just a matter of figuring out how the funding's gonna come about.
Yeah, I mean, nobody wants tax increases, but I mean, at some point, with the number of people we have in town and I think the number of calls, we see his reports and overlapping calls, and that's 2 times in a week.
Yeah.
But even with the tax increases, we have a tax cap.
No, I understand, but I mean, there's gotta be other ways to do it. We gotta do something.
And only, 56 to 60% of the town's budget go to public safety.
Right, but I mean, in my opinion, we don't have enough people. I don't know what your feelings are.
If we don't get something done with the water, they're gonna be using 5-gallon buckets at some point.
No, I get that, but I mean, we're talking life safety. I mean, the water's important as well.
But without water, you can't put fires out, so we haven't solved that problem.
Obviously, I know that. I was a firefighter for over 20 years.
We got multiple problems here. I mean, everybody.
Life safety should be number one.
Everybody sitting here knows that the population has doubled here in the last 12 years, but none of the budgets have doubled.
Right, and that's what I'm asking. I mean, we need to do something. We need to find out every avenue we can to try to find funds. Because, I mean, we got lucky. I mean, there could have been somebody almost dying in that car. That house today, that would have been a full-blown house fire, and we've got to wait for mutual aid, and they're 10 or 15 minutes out. I mean, we could lose a life, and that's, I mean, for me as a resident, I mean, for myself, for my family, or anybody, that should be, I mean, number one.
Yeah.
I know, I brought the paper, I know last week, Maryville, they just approved, it's a big tax increase for them, but they see the problem. I mean, they're looking to hire, and I think it says 34 additional firefighters. They're not gonna get that, obviously, but that's what they shot for.
25 cops.
Yeah, 25
one
cops.
time.
Well, would you have to?
And I guarantee the DLGF is not going to approve it.
No, they're not. No, I know that.
We can't compare ourselves
Who's not going to approve it?
to Maryville.
They don't hit the commercial.
DLGF, there's no way.
We're not Maryville. We're not any other town except Cedar Lake. We got our own issues in that. But, I mean, when it comes to life safety, I mean, we gotta do everything we can.
Yeah, well, like Chuck says, the way the state works, there are tax caps, which you're limited as far as what you can
I
basically
mean,
tax.
for public safety, we have to worry about police, we have to worry about fire, and there's only so much money can go.
I only know about the fire service, so I'm not involved with the police, and I'm sure they have the same issues.
Well, you also have to worry about public works too, because the roads aren't
Right,
passable.
yeah, if they're not plowed,
My son's over in public works
Yeah,
superintendent.
I mean, there's a whole team here.
I'm gonna get Jerry on as volunteer, just to let you know.
I'm in.
He's one of the guys I told, you gotta put your money where your mouth is.
We need water crew workers, get us the water.
Yeah.
I totally get it. I mean, we're in a crunch and that, but I mean, we gotta figure out what we can do somewhere.
Well, we need to get these businesses into town, but right now, we can't because we have no water.
Right.
So right now, we're handcuffed.
Yeah.
That's where the money comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where Maryville, all these other big towns, they have a lot more commercial, look at 41 Quarter, Sherrill, everything, Route 30.
Oh, no, yeah.
Crown Point, you got the Broadway.
Yep.
We don't have that here.
Right.
So we can't compare us to them.
No, I never did, I wasn't comparing.
But I'm saying, other people, we can't do the salaries, and we don't have the people.
We're working, we're not,
Yeah, we're trying.
yeah, we're not sitting on our hands with all this
I'm
stuff,
not saying
you
you
know.
aren't. I'm not
Gary, I've
saying-
had good dialogue just very recently with
Okay.
people on the council as well, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, well, thank you.
All right, thank you, sir.
Jack Harden, 7030 West 128th Avenue, Cedar Lake, Indiana. And I do hope this is a proper forum to bring this up. Though since a deja vu, a lot of faces have changed, but the problem still exists. I live in a neighborhood from hell. Gunshot, the house got shot up a couple weeks ago, a couple months ago. There was a kid, well, he's 18 now, and he's driving the neighborhood nuts. I mean, the last chief of police, he said, call. We did. It quieted down for a little while, but, you know, it just keeps reoccurring. I don't know what else to do, chief. Help us out. What can we do? I mean, now he's with two 15-year-olds that they just ricky race up and down the road, no baffles in the motor, you know, in the muffler. They know when you guys are coming. You know, oh, put it away, and they put the motorcycles up. I think it's ordinance 9305, where you can't just excessively rev up. But hey, I'm a mechanic, I can do that. You can't, just to aggravate. My wife and I can't have neighbors over anymore. You know, he sees me in my driveway, and just look at me, you know, I mean, I don't know what else to do.
What neighborhood are you in?
He's up by me.
Yeah, up by Bob. The house just got shot up, what was that, a month ago? You know, I mean, they shot eight bullets. 8 bullets went in the house. I mean, so now he's not only affecting us, I don't know where the gangster came that shot up his house, but, you know, so, you know, he's expanding his territory of terror. I mean, you know, something has to be done. Someone's gonna, he's 18 now, and I've already heard some rumors. So hopefully nothing happens, but what can we do, chief? Anything at all?
Keep going. And we're doing the best we can. And it's not that we haven't done nothing. We have done as much as we can do within the legal ability. We have filed charges, we have written many tickets. We can't just, you know, we're doing what we can do within our legal abilities.
It's terrible living in a state of, it's terrible, our neighborhood living in.
I get it. I get it. But, you know, we have to follow the law.
Oh, I understand.
As far as how we can.
But just the revving it up, I mean, that's a good, you know, you guys, oops, nothing I can do. Right here, it said it, section F, you just can't rev it up.
And that's not true, that there's nothing we can do. But we also have to observe it to write the ticket. And we have written tickets. So it's not a matter of us not doing it.
Okay, well, I just here tonight with a few neighbors to let you know it's still continuing, it's still
Very
going
well
on.
aware, I read.
We appreciate anything you can do.
Well, I'll tell you, our officers, I think, do a tremendous job. I've lived next to a house for 12 years where this past year, I can count on these two hands how many overdoses were next door. And the guys were out and the girls were out, and you gotta look at the prosecutor with some of this stuff, because you see people get arrested and then they're back out on the streets. And, you know, I feel sorry for the men and women in the police department. They have to go there, arrest somebody, and then they find the person back out on the street again. And that's something that a lot of us are living through. There's no, it seems like there's no justice
But now
anymore.
there's gunfire involved, you know, I mean, that's scary. It's kind of, you know, you don't expect gunfire, you know, right next door.
Yeah,
But anyway, anything you can do, we appreciate. Absolutely.
thank you, sir.
How you guys doing?
Hello.
My name's Mike Janis, I'm with Jack, for the 12738 Bell Street. I'm not asking for a fire truck or a cut a hole in the road or anything like that, but along with Jack here, I live next door with Billy the Kid, The house the guy shot out of is 25 feet away from my bedroom window. And you were correct, the police officers of this town are doing a great job. I love Cedar Lake, probably called home for the last 2 years. Uncle Jack asked me for a little assistance in this as well, you know. Listening to the neighbors talk, I'm afraid it's gonna turn into like a martial law in the area, you know. The residents are looking to take things in their own hands. I don't wanna see it come to that, you know. We can get some assistance, taking care of things over there, and, greatly appreciated. And should it turn into martial law, Todd Wilkening, if you could do me a favor, keep that $1.1 million, fire truck parked in a brand new barn over there when his house catches on fire, you greatly appreciated. So, yeah, I didn't hate to be like that, but I got a 2-year-old granddaughter that I can't sit on the front porch and enjoy my time with my granddaughter without kids running up and down the street cussing, racing motorcycles down the street, just raising all kind of hell. I mean, the kid's 18 years old. He's made a mockery of the town of Cedar Lake Police Department, Crown Point School District, and the full justice system. I'm not sure how that slips through the cracks. I'll continue to make phone calls, and I hate to say it, but next time they shoot his house up, hope they got better aim, they shoot kill him.
Thank you, sir.
You want me to finish? I'm Jennifer Osborne, 12738 Bell Street. That's my husband. And we are renters, but I work for the company that owns our property. And we moved in 20 months ago, and for the first 6 months, everything was fine. We both work full-time. I work anywhere from 50 to 60 hours a week. Same with him. I got in a car accident last May. Couldn't work for a few months, so I stayed home, and that's when I started noticing and hearing and everything that goes on. So I did the way you're supposed to. I spoke to them, saying, hey, can you be quiet, you know, whatever. And then it just started progressing and getting worse, getting worse, getting worse. And then, soon as the July 23rd, you know, the shooting up the house happened, I put cameras up all around my house. And I have 24/7, and they run. You walk in front of my house, they go off. I cannot kid you. My gig is full because of all the video footage of this kid antagonizing him, running through the neighborhood, antagonizing the other neighbor because the neighbor's chasing him. New neighbors across the street from them, so the old officer just sold the house. Didn't tell the new people within 1 week. Then people are now ready, they're gonna put their house up for sale next year. So you're gonna lose a resident because of this. And I am a real estate agent, so I would never, ever wanna sell anybody a house in that neighborhood. It's horrible. But I got footage of the kid, like this weekend I was power washing my back patio because there are trees, all their leaves, I have no trees in my backyard, all their leaves just formed in my yard, so I had to clean it up. They antagonized my dog. I have a video of them going and antagonizing my dog, whipping stuff over the fence at my dog. Well, why call? Because you guys are gonna do nothing. That's every time you guys come, you do absolutely nothing. I got videos of the kid standing up on his motorcycle, riding up and down the street. Nobody does anything. I have, you name it. My son last night was outside. They called the cops on us. Your officers come to our door and say, hey, they're over there just having a nice little fire. Why don't you, tell your son just to keep it down over there. My son was on the back porch smoking and coughed, and they're over there mocking him, and they call the police on us. I have that on video. I have it all on video, but we need something done. Because, like you said, I have a 2-year-old granddaughter who was there the night of the shooting, and I can't enjoy myself out there. I can't go and sit and visit with my neighbors. Nobody wants to come out of their house because of this kid. Today I come home at 3:45. Within 5 minutes, I have 3 minutes of video of him just sitting there, revving up his engine on his motorcycle. And then I also have him, when I was power washing, him and his 3 buddies sitting at the end of the driveway. When I walk back to close my gate on my fence, they all are sitting there honking the horn and revving up their motorcycles just to antagonize me.
Where's the parents at?
Yeah.
They're really, when Erica and Brian are not home is when he goes absolutely crazy, but when she comes home, she defends him.
Is video prosecutable? I don't know if that's even the right word, finable? It's not?
A lot of these are infractions, meaning the police need to observe it just like a speeding ticket.
Okay.
If we did use the video, whether or not the prosecutor would accept it really is debatable. The video itself wouldn't be admissible in court.
And I know that's why you guys
without
get
person that
frustrated. You do
recorded
all the work,
video,
you take it to
owns
the prosecutor.
video. Exactly.
Yeah, you don't do that.
So an officer goes to testify because he observed the violation. If we didn't observe it, even if there's video, I can't submit video from somebody else unless that person is there to testify on behalf of that video. So 90% of the time, the prosecutor doesn't want to deal with it as an infraction. We have dealt with this kid many a times, so it simply just isn't true.
I think I got a phone call about him over the weekend
Absolutely.
myself.
And this council is very well aware of ongoing litigation from one time that we had to deal with this kid and chase him along on his dirt bikes. I personally was sitting across from Carver School and observed this kid riding his dirt bike on private property and personally filed charges of trespassing, road tickets, so on and so forth, et cetera. He is a nuisance. He is, everything they've said is 100% true and accurate. But we can't just rid them of this problem. That's not how it works. We are doing the best that we can, and they do need to continue to call. And if there is an incident that you don't feel like was dealt with, that you have proven evidence of, feel free to either call me or the patrol commander so that we can take another look at it. But it certainly is not a matter of us not doing it.
They gotta work in the parameters of the law, and the law doesn't always work it.
Can we get more
In their
patrol
favor.
in our, like, instead of like, if we call the cops, don't like over the radio, hey, blah, 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 go to this address, because he hears it.
It's not going over
He's
the
got
radio.
his scanner.
So that's not true either, because, that's not true either, because I read the call logs, I read how it's being put out, and they're specifically not putting this stuff out over the radio for that reason.
Then he's gotta have somebody outside, like,
No,
who lives.
what he's doing is he's doing it knowing that the cops are gonna get called, so he quits doing it.
No, because you see him scatter. As soon as you guys are coming, it's like, as soon as I hang the phone up, I've watched him, literally, they all scatter. They run and throw everything in the garage and they shut the door, like that quick.
That's exactly his point.
Yeah, they're reacting to what you're gonna.
No, I'm not in front of them, I'm
I
in my house.
understand that, but they can
Yeah.
foresee that you're gonna call.
Okay, but, and then like I said, I have up to 7 minutes of the kid just sitting constantly revving for 7 minutes long. It's just horrible, so, and antagonizing my 11-year-old dog.
I'd like to get on top of your police department, please.
I have a question, can the town put up, for safety reasons, put up cameras, you got
No.
stop signs, you know?
And our
the
streets
red
are
lights
so
and stuff?
narrow over there, I mean, and with them whipping up and down, I'm afraid that like somebody's gonna run them over one day because that's what they're doing, they're gonna race each other. And they go fast.
So there's 3 kids, you said?
There's 3 of them now, and they all got,
One's the main guy there, and I'll be honest
Yeah,
with you,
that's
I
Billy.
come home from work every day, hoping like hell he's about to run a stop sign. I
Now
honestly do,
there's
I
two
hope
new
like hell
kids.
he runs a stop sign.
and that's the 15-year-old Jack.
And that's
talking
till
about.
1:30 in the morning sometimes, testing it out.
I got to
Eventually
do
his
it
luck's
3:30
gonna
in
run
the
out.
morning yet, this weekend.
Probably wouldn't have found it, but he got it back.
18.
I just wanted to
Kept it. Thank you.
Angie Michaelachuk, 12806 Lee Court. I just had something to say about the house on Hilltop that had a remodel permit to the demolition permit, and it was said that there was no work done on that home, and actually there was. I pass it all the time, and I shake my head like, what the heck's going on there? You could literally see through the whole entire building, and they did remove what appears to me as load-bearing walls from the property, and the roof remains. So I'm afraid of possible somebody getting hurt. So with that demolition permit, how much time do they have?
number one. Number two, should there be something around that property because Halloween is coming and it's really, I don't know if you guys seen it, I did take a picture in August.
Is it a full demolition or just a demolition for renovation?
I mean, and again, there has been some work done there, but it's been all demolition work.
It's done like 2x4s.
And this was in
August, it's even worse now.
The remodeling permit would actually be putting something back, not taking something out.
Right. So,
More of a demolition operation, unless they put a roof on it or siding or something of that nature, that permit's void.
right, but my question is, when will they demo it? Because
You got a
it's
timeline?
more dangerous than the other one, I hope.
Yes, it should be demoed as soon as possible. I haven't communicated exactly with them. I was under the impression that they were already in the process of demoing it.
Okay, because there's a lot of building supplies there and stuff.
I saw
I
it.
just want to say that it's very unsafe right
No, it is now, definitely,
Have you seen it?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Angie.
Kevin Toll, 9725B West 129.
Hello.
And I just come here tonight, basically to comment about the item issues with the water supply. We keep hearing that some of these problems may have involved town officials or others. We also hear that there's an investigation, but who's investigating? We hear that, I'm sorry, Les, we have heard from at least one council member, Mr. Carnahan, who said that he had no knowledge of any of this was going on in last year's council.
Neither did Dick.
I'm just saying that, so does this mean that the things being done were actually hidden, or that there were people covering these actions up? Do we know if any of the previous council members had any involvement with any of these issues? And is this being investigated? We hear the term investigation, but who's investigating? Are these the same people who told us there were no water issues? Are these the same consultants who were in the same positions when all this took place? I think everyone here should demand full transparency in this investigation and ask that we have an independent investigation into what happened here. I would think this entire council would demand an independent investigation, and those of you who were on the past council would demand it even more to clear yourselves, because you could be involved in it or at least associated with it. We must ensure this never happens again, and safeguards should be put into place so the individuals do not have the power for this kind of deception. So I want to ask you guys is, again, who's investigating this? Because it seems like it's the same people who were here last year and the year before. And I don't quite understand that, because these are the same consultants who gave you guys all this, well, not you guys, but the old council supposedly gave them the information, or told them we had enough water, told everybody that came to these meetings that we had enough water and stuff, but we didn't. So why are we trusting them now to answer all these questions to Ida?
Well, I think it involves a little bit more than that, Kevin, than just consultants. There's, Attorney Austin had mentioned about some of the fact-finding we were doing, and it goes beyond just engineers' reports. I don't know, I'm not even sure we can speak on all of it or not, I'm not sure.
I don't have anything more to give you, so.
And in the stage that it's in, we can't really comment too much, Kevin, although I'd like to, but I can't.
I understand some of that, but I just would say, why are we still using the same people who are possibly involved in it? And it seems like that's where we're at.
Well, as this thing progresses, some of that may change as well, and we're just not there yet. And I'm not making excuses, I'm not an excuse guy, but it's been a rough year for this council. It's like playing whack-a-mole, literally. You know, every time you get one beat down, another one pops up. So, it's just gonna take time. I would like for it to happen immediately, but, you know, it's not.
Well, I just want to see the people who are involved in this, you know, that they are brought to the full extent of the legal system, and not that they are let go, or that this just falls by the wayside. We need to follow up on this, and we need to keep following up on it, and then they all need to be, you know, brought to bear for what they did. I mean.
We agree.
I mean, you know, we had a council that sat there the whole time, and I can tell, there's a lot of people that come to these meetings, you know, regularly. We sit here, and we all knew there was something going on, folks. We all knew there were some problems. And the council did nothing, right? And we don't know why, but we'd like to know why.
Well, we instituted a moratorium based off of what we
No, you.
one of you guys too, looking at, that something's not right here.
No, I'm talking about, yeah, but I'm talking about the previous.
Yeah.
You know, this thing went on for a long time, and yeah, you guys did the right thing, I agree. The moratorium was the right thing to do, and you didn't have a choice because of the things that went on before that, right? But please do not.
Now we really don't have a choice, we have an even bigger no choice.
All I'm saying is don't let it go.
We're not going to.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. All right. Last call for public comment.
Just Yurcich, 9,000 West 129th Place, Cedar Lake, Indiana.
Hello.
So, I am a Boy Scout with the Troop 129 here in Cedar Lake. I am a member of the Order of the Arrow. I am a Star Scout as of September 9th, or September 16th of this year, and I have been in the OA since August 11th of this year. That was my ordeal. And I'm here at this meeting tonight because I am going for one of my Eagle required merit badges, citizenship in the community, which requires that I attend at least one public meeting by public officials, such as a town council meeting or a meeting with a city official. So I'm here for that.
Impressive.
And I am actually aiming for my Eagle here. I am currently on the waiting period for Star, and I have a 6-month waiting period. I have already waited for, I believe, 2 to 3 months now for life, and as soon as I get my life signed off, I'm going to start planning for my Eagle Scout project. And being in the OA, I intend to try and reach the rank of Vigil, which is the highest member honor that a Scout can gain other than Eagle. And the OA sash, which is this white sash with the red arrow, it is a symbol of dedication to the OA's ideals and a visible sign of membership in the OA. And this sash represents the OA's, the Order of the Arrow's founding principles of brotherhood, cheerfulness, and service. And it serves as a remembrance to the Scouts on law and oath. And it shows also that I, as a Scout, have been elected and chosen by my peers into this society of other Scouts who are like-minded in the ways of Scouting. I am also here in town, a volunteer at the museum at Lassens. I serve as a tour guide, among other things. And as I said, I'm here for earning a prerequisite for my citizenship in the community merit badge. I guess one thing I would like to mention, or say, is that for my Eagle Scout project, I would intend to do something here for our town, specifically here by the museum. As you know, the pavilion that was there, that was dedicated to veterans in one of the recent storms, blew over, fell down. I am working on planning and designing a new pavilion to go there. And I just wanted to come up here and say that I'm here to earn not only this prerequisite, but to mention that I am planning this as the Eagle Scout project. I want to bring it to your attention if it does come up in other town council meetings.
If I could, our plans are not to put it in the same location. We want to move it on the north side of the museum.
On the north side.
Right.
There's insurance.
It's an insurance job.
involved in that too.
Okay, that makes sense. I understand.
But you talk to us, we'll take care of it.
Yeah, because
We'll make sure you get a project.
As an Eagle Scout project, that not only would give back to the community, because it was, that, like I said, it was originally built, it was dedicated to the veterans of World War I, World War II, Korean War,
And the lady that spearheaded it was our clerk treasurer, and she served in the service. Jody Corticratz, her picture's back there on the wall.
So I decided for one of those projects that I would like to rebuild that pavilion, because I know that it was like it served as a reminder that we shouldn't forget those who served. And I know that one thing I remember hearing, and this was a quote from some veteran that I remember, and it was said at a Veterans Day program. I remember the quote that I heard went something along the lines of, I'm not a hero. The heroes are the ones who fought and didn't come back. They are the true heroes. They fought and died for our ideals of liberty and freedom. They fought so that you could be free, which is where you get that freedom is never free. Freedom is fought for and have the blood, sweat, and tears of people who have fought for you because they want to be able to live comfortably and to have the ability to live in a world where you don't have to worry about someone threatening your beliefs, your religion, or anything. That's all.
Well, I think we need more individuals like Joseph in our society. Thank you for doing everything you're doing. Thank you for coming up here.
Thank you very much.
Do you need Joseph, do you need anything from us for,
Yeah, well,
you know, you need something from the town as far as for your accomplishment? Yeah.
Joe, I love, all the Boy Scouts and Eagle Scout projects that come our way through Parks Department, service hours. Here's my email. Reach out to me, we'll get you busy here.
No, he should.
Have you ever remodeled an old fire station? Which
Last summer, I had 2 Eagle Scouts.
Is Sanford nobody online?
No, attendance online.
Okay, do we have a special council meeting on November 7th too, or is that just RDC, or both?
It's council because you'll have to have a public hearing related to the bond and the appropriation ordinances. Kirsten and Jeff, I had sent an email to a couple of weeks ago after we had discussed it at the last meeting, so Kirsten should have noticed it.
For November?
Yeah, for November 7th, yeah.
Okay.
So we have a November 7th special town council meeting, time to be determined.
5 PM is what you guys had discussed, that's what we had sent out for town council, and then it was requested to advertise a special redevelopment commission meeting to follow immediately.
Okay, so 5 PM, town council meeting, November 7th, RDC meeting to follow. Thank you all for attending, this meeting's adjourned at 10:08 PM.